Chapter 1505. Half-half. Bojo's smile didn't change. As the vice captain of the Supreme Alliance, I have to care about the love lives of the team members. It's best if it can be digested internally. Oh, Chinemo replied slowly. But don't let the goodies flow to others. You want Lin Feng to take the initiative. Are you sure you aren't being naughty? I saw that he wasn't in a good mood, so I wanted to divert his attention. Bojo paused. Luoluo's retirement was too sudden. Chinemo was walking casually, but when he heard this, he glanced down. It won't be that fast. Not that fast. What did he mean? Before Bojo could ask, Chinemo placed the popcorn in her hands. I'm done being Cupid with you. Isn't it time for you to go home and do what I like with me, Mrs. Chin? There was a type of person that you wouldn't understand if you didn't fall in love. Once you fell in love, you would realize. When there wasn't a competition. His life, other than sleeping and feeding the cat, would revolve around you. Undoubtedly, the Almighty was this type of person. Bojo glanced at Chinemo, who was opening the car door. His face was so handsome that it seemed a little unreal. He didn't like to go out. It was hard to imagine that a decision he made could cause an economic upheaval in an entire city. When he had a video conference, he basically made her lie on the sofa with a bowl of sweets beside her. Anyway, he didn't allow her to leave his vicinity. He even made Princess watch her. Letting a cat look at her was basically an insult to her mobility. Hence, under normal circumstances, Bojo wouldn't be able to sit still. But the Almighty seemed to have a plan every time he dealt with her. Once she couldn't sit still. He would raise his eyebrows and glance at her. Solo in the game. Come. Bojo had always liked a solo match with the Almighty. But it was obvious that young Master Chin had never thought of going all out. Every time, he would place her on his long legs and the two of them would enter the game together. Even though they were playing a mobile game, that position affected Bojo's performance. Ever since the two of them had been together, this person was getting more and more devilish. Fortunately, she was the one who kept him. But recently, it was still a little difficult to subdue him. She didn't know if it was because she had flirted too much. Now, the Almighty liked to hug her and talk to her while they played games. They would even go to the washroom. She wouldn't go. He smiled. What? Don't you want to come in and compare your size? She finally understood the feeling of having to fill up the hole that she had dug herself. She would lean against the door frame and whistle. When he went to the bathroom, she leaned against the door frame and whistled. It seemed that after blowing for 3 times. After that, he wouldn't bring her to the washroom. Instead, he pressed her down on the sofa and bullied her. Or maybe it was spring, and someone was about to go to college. Chinemo always felt his throat burning, even now. He tugged his collar open and turned the steering wheel. When he glanced sideways at a certain someone eating popcorn, his eyes darkened. Lin. Chin and Lin. Lin, she didn't. Lin she. Luo emote. Bo Chin Lin Chin Su Fong. 4 I, Bo. Chapter 1506. Bojo was caught off guard. She watched as he took off his jacket slowly and took a step back. She wanted to turn around and avoid him. As though he had expected her to do this, Chinemo took a step forward and pressed down on her long legs. His handsome face was so obstinate that it made her heart race. Didn't you say at the cinema that you will accompany me when you come back, MMH? The popcorn Bojo was holding had already scattered. He took one and placed it between her lips. Then he lowered his head and kissed it gently. His breath was so fresh that she could smell the faint scent of mint. He was using the honey trap again. That was Bojo's only thought. She couldn't reject him. But every time she was bullied by Chin Mo, Bojo seemed to be pulled out of the water. Even though Chin Mo never went through with it, it was the same. Her long bangs fell down and covered her eyes. Bojo was still recovering when she heard him say, "I'm going to cut my hair." Bojo didn't mind. She took his arm and used it as a pillow. His handsome and mischievous face seemed obedient. "You don't want to cut it." Chin Mo played with her hair, his gaze lowered. Bojo closed her eyes. "I'm too lazy to go out." Being a homebody was really contagious. Chin Mo said, "Get Madame Zhang to prepare it tomorrow. I'll cut it for you. You know how." Bojo opened her eyes lazily. Chin Mo caressed her head, his voice calm. "I'm experienced." Bojo was curious. "Who did you cut it for?" "Princess." Chin Mo remained expressionless. Bojo opened her eyes immediately. "Brother Mo, are you serious? What do you think?" Chin Mo asked. He was serious. Bojo tried. "I need a handsome hairstyle. It can't be ruined." "Why do you need to be handsome when you have a boyfriend?" Chin Mo's voice was slow. "I can't keep the gifts from the fans in the club." "Bojo, what if a jealous boyfriend wants to ruin my hairstyle?" "I'm waiting online. It's urgent." The next day. Chin Mo didn't really ruin her hairstyle. But he did cut it at home. The hairdresser was at the side guiding her. The way Chin Mo held the scissors and wore a white coat made him look even more seductive. After the haircut, Bojo looked much more refreshed. There weren't any stray hairs on her forehead and she looked like the school hunk. She was so handsome that the hairdresser couldn't help but sigh. Chin Mo brushed the stray hairs off his hands, changing out of his white coat and donning Supreme Alliance's uniform. His gaze was deep. So what if he was handsome? Other than him, no one else could have it. With this kind of situation, they would definitely be together in university. After the movie started, many people were asking who the Chinese teenager who acted as the hacker was. For a moment, the screen was flooded with topics. But soon, for some unknown reason, after just one night, these discussions suddenly disappeared. The director responded personally, saying that the actor was a friend of his and that it was a friendly act. He had no intention of making his debut. That's why he said that. It was because he had received a call from Bojo. She had told him that she wasn't going to enter this industry. Chin Mo agreed with this point. Before this, he had sent a lot of companies to the club. Chapter 1507. The group of entertainment companies didn't dare to come again after hearing Chin Mo's words. The Chin group could easily kill them with a single move. Be it money or resources, they were the best in the entire industry. And, fiancé, cough, 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 cough. It was easy to imagine the scene of the bosses of the entertainment companies choking. At that time, Chin Mo's assistant had been smiling from the side, thinking that flaunting his wealth wasn't the main point of his young master's words. The main point was to be proposed to. Boss Chin wanted the entire business circle to know that he was taken. Boss Lee, who had been asked by Chin Mo for advice on how to raise his brother, didn't receive any follow-up questions. There were also people who didn't change their minds and wanted to interact with Bojo alone. In the end, they realized that they had been too naive. Some people weren't people the media could follow even if they wanted to. The courtyard wasn't a place anyone could enter as they pleased. On the other hand, the retired big shots would often see Chin Mo bringing his little friend out for walks. Occasionally, he would ask the child to help carry the flowers and ask, "Have you done your homework?" As someone who was used to being left alone, Bojo would stiffen every time she was asked such a question. "We can talk about something else." After reaching school, Bojo didn't sleep. Instead, she took a book and started revising. She couldn't be at a loss for words every time she returned home when the Almighty asked her what she had learned today. The blonde from second high came looking for someone. The gist of it was that he wanted to study hard too. Bojo was slightly taken aback. She sized him up. "Study? You?" The blonde gave her an expression that said, "Why can't I study hard for the person you love? Who wants to get into a better university? Let me work harder." Bojo replied, "Who is that?" "You know." The blonde suddenly felt embarrassed. Bojo tapped her fingers. "You want me to tutor you? Isn't it obvious?" The blonde swept a glance behind him. "I wanted them to tutor me." Bojo followed his gaze and saw a few street bullies scratching their ears and cheeks. They didn't even understand middle school English. "You probably didn't improve. You're telling me all the wrong answers," the blonde said angrily. "Bojo. Are you tutoring me or asking for answers?" "Expert, you have to save me." The blonde scratched the back of his head. "I can't do too badly. It doesn't show anything now. My mom said that when I enter society, it will depend on my education." Bojo arched a brow. "Wrong, once you enter society, you will see who your father is." Blondie's face was stiff. "When I can't make it anymore, I'll go home and inherit the family property." Bojo stuffed a hand into her pocket. She seemed to have thought of something and leaned forward slightly. "Is education very important?" "In any case, her group of friends always think that I don't know anything. The way they look at me is really... Actually, I don't really care about it." Blondie tilted his head. "I don't want her to embarrass herself." Bojo's gaze dimmed. What if the girl's education level is low? People will probably talk about her after she enters society. The blonde was deep in thought. "I won't care. Some people with high education levels are tired of chatting. Do you know what they will talk to you about? They will discuss the progress of mankind and ask me how the theory of relativity came about. They will think that you don't understand because you are uncultured." Sigh, it's a blow. Chapter 1508. F***ck, my goddess just has to talk to me about games. The blonde glared. "Do we need to talk about anything else?" Bojo replied slowly, "Is it appropriate for someone with a girlfriend to call another girl a goddess?" "My girlfriend is a Luo fan. I followed my girlfriend's footsteps to become a Luo goddess," the blonde replied seriously. "Oh," Bojo replied. "What do you think about her retirement?" "I hope it won't be so soon." The blonde was unusually serious. Bojo tilted her head, deep in thought. The blonde watched from the side. The more he looked, the more he felt that it was unfair for a girl to be so handsome. More importantly, he would unknowingly treat her as a boy. He thought about the recent events and couldn't help asking, "Oh right, I have a request, expert, can you not be so handsome the next time you appear?" Bojo arched a brow. "MH? My girlfriend doesn't even look at me the moment you appear, she only stares at your video." The blonde sighed. "I even got a haircut for her but it didn't work." Bojo sized him up casually. "No wonder your hairstyle is so similar to mine. Isn't it handsome?" The blonde caressed his head, sending her an expression. Bojo laughed lightly. "How dare you ask me if I'm handsome? Aren't you asking to be humiliated?" The blonde, "All right, let's get back to the main topic." Bojo played with the lighter in her hands. Don't look for me for revision, I'll give you a suggestion, look for your girlfriend, you can revise while deepening your relationship. The blonde's eyes lit up. Expert, how did you think of such a good idea? Why else do you think I look for my almighty to revise? Bojo laughed. If you don't even have such a method to woo a beauty, how am I supposed to woo her? The blonde choked. Expert, does young Master Chin know that you call young Master Chin beauty? Why are you so concerned about the details? Bojo flipped the lighter, looking nonchalant. The blonde could tell that she wanted to smoke, so he took one and passed it over. Bojo swept him a glance, biting on a lollipop. I'm not smoking. Master, are you kidding me? It's fine if you don't skip classes, but you don't even smoke anymore. The blonde was shocked. Bojo replied, you have to be prepared to be clean when you get married. Quitting smoking isn't a big deal. Blondie. Young Master Chin probably doesn't know that you treat him as your wife. However, it was also the right choice to look for an expert. After all, he really didn't think that there was a way to improve their relationship while revising. This way, he could ask that person to come to his house. The more the blonde thought about it, the redder his face became. Don't look at how pure he was. After thinking about it for a while, even his ears turned red. When the people from Second High saw him, they were a little confused. Boss, what's wrong with you? What do you mean? Go back and study. The blonde ordered. The few of them began to enter a state of selflessness again. They were the leaders of number 2 middle school, and now they were holding an English book every day. Seriously, he couldn't even fight when he went out to fight. What could he say? The power of love was truly great. On the other hand, everyone from number 1 middle school covered their mouths when they saw Bojo. Too cool. Chapter 1509. There must be some activity in the team today. Bojo wasn't wearing her school uniform. Instead, she was wearing a black uniform. She stood in the middle of a group of high school students. The current Bojo was completely different from when she had first arrived. She wasn't just a school hunk. She was like a celebrity but more mysterious than one. As an esports champion, she didn't spend much time in school. Moreover, she was about to graduate and there weren't any compulsory classes. Some students who were good at their craft had already left school. Hence, they had more freedom. One could imagine the reaction of the students when they saw her again. They walked round and round. Basically, there were cries of, "Aw." Someone couldn't help but ask, "Almighty Z, why are you wearing your uniform today?" They thought they wouldn't get an answer. Unexpectedly, the youngster stopped and said, "Supreme Alliance is recruiting. Those who aren't dressed neatly will be punished." Recruiting. This word didn't just arouse the curiosity of the students. Even some esports platforms started to become active. Supreme Alliance was recruiting. Everyone knew that Supreme Alliance had been recruiting previously. That was when they met Spade Z. The election held by Supreme Alliance was still fresh in their minds. The FC King of Zone C had appeared for the first time. She had even brought back north of the Yin Mountain and the famous RMB player, Feng Shang. This time, they didn't know if Supreme Alliance would be able to achieve the same result. They could imagine that it had been a year since they saw Spade Z. A year. Time passed so quickly. No wonder Goddess Luo wanted to retire. The news from the past 2 days made the esports players feel uneasy. Goddess Luo had started to retire. What about Sanpeng, Almighty Shao? Almighty Qin? They had entered the professional team at the same time. Even now, the video from that year was still on the internet. The three of them were beautiful in terms of positioning and awareness. No matter who they surrounded, they would be able to trap. But the person they had met back then was Qin Mo. It was undoubtedly a feast for the eyes. Even if they lost. It made people feel that Xiangnan's era was coming. Then, it really came true. Qin Mo's hand was injured. In the Chinese esports industry, no one could stop the Xiangnan 3. From sorcerer to ADC, Luo was experimenting. Because of this, people had a deep impression of it. This was probably the glory that belonged to them. Branded in their youth, how many people still remembered the days they had accompanied them? Emotions can't be stabilized. All the fans were the same. Because they had a premonition that their favorite almighties would start to retire one after another. Even such an outcome was unacceptable. However, they also understood that some things could not be forced. At this moment, such a piece of news came. Supreme Alliance was recruiting. The most interesting thing was that Almighty Qin wasn't the examiner this time. It was Spade Z. A media reporter asked, "Almighty Qin, why aren't you the chief examiner this time?" "I've made other preparations." Being asked like this, the fans thought about the issue of retirement again, and the uneasiness in their hearts just started to rise. In the video, Qin Mo tilted his handsome face and replied casually, "No, I'm accompanying Madam to be the assistant examiner." Is there anything wrong with that? The media. Chapter 15:10. Ha 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 ha, I'm dying of laughter, I'm begging for the interviewer's heart. Honestly, you shouldn't have asked my almighty Qin anything, he can answer any question. I feel like my almighty Qin is insecure because his girlfriend is so handsome. I've been eating too much dog food recently, but I wouldn't mind another bowl. Ah. I'm looking forward to the recruitment this time, I wonder what kind of amazing person will appear. As the discussions continued, Supreme Alliance's recruitment became a hot topic that couldn't be ignored. As usual, Supreme Alliance would have an internal recruitment every year. Bo Jiu still remembered that she had met Feng Shang during the internal recruitment, but she hadn't done it back then. She had been young and aggressive and liked to challenge others easily. It hadn't changed now. As the main examiner, Bo Jiu had to sit in that position and not move around casually. After about 15 minutes, she became lazy and turned towards Qin Mo. "Brother Mo, I'm going out to buy a bottle of water." "This is just the first batch," Qin Mo replied calmly. "You can't sit still after the first batch. Go, come back after you're done, don't run around." "No problem." Bo Jiu straightened, stuffed her hands into her pockets and smiled as though she wanted to go out for some fresh air. Qin Mo was still watching the few screens in front of him. On the screens, there would be battle videos sent over through everyone's email. The standard requirement was a high-level solo match with random passers-by and replacement hero characters. What's more, Supreme Alliance paid particular attention to the depth of the hero pool during their recruitment. It was obvious they were looking for an all-rounder. But from the fact that Bo Jiu wanted to go out halfway through, it was obvious she wasn't interested. The Almighty had made her the main examiner so that he could keep an eye on her. Bo Jiu caressed her hair and walked towards the machine. She inserted a few coins but hadn't pressed the button yet. Just then, there was a loud thud. Something beneath her long legs clanked. At this moment, she realized there was another person there. It wasn't a tall person, but he wasn't small either. He was half squatting with a bottle of water and carrying a backpack of the same color. It was indeed hard to notice him. Their gazes met. Bo Jiu was greeted with a small face the size of a palm, looking slightly noble. The little person paused when he saw her. Bo Jiu arched a brow and turned, her gaze deepening. Her tone was like a teasing uncle. "Little girl, you look familiar. The red keyboard on your back is exposed." The little person was expressionless. He replied, starting to organize his backpack. He seemed to recall something and passed her the bottle of water. Bojio's eyes flashed and she smiled. I was wondering why you looked so familiar. It's you, the little friend who gave me the tickets for the Asian Cup. Godzi. The little person's voice was cold but his ears were red. Bojio watched with interest. She took the mineral water and thanked him before starting to study the child. Isn't it tiring to carry a keyboard around? The little person took another bottle of mineral water and replied, I'm used to it. She. Bo, she, bo he raised. Chapter 15:11. Bojio's smile deepened. As expected, you look the same. What do you mean? The little person didn't understand. Bojio took a sip of water and leaned against the wall lazily. My boyfriend looked like you when he was young. He had a poker face and was adorable. The little person shifted her body. She was still carrying her school bag. I'm a girl. MH. Bojio glanced down and glanced at the little person's short hair. I couldn't tell. The little person noticed her gaze and caressed her head. If you cut it like this, you'll look like my brother. We can take turns doing things. You have a brother. Bojio arched a brow. The little person replied, MMH, Bojio liked children. She was probably influenced by the Almighty when he was young. The more she looked at the little person, the more interesting she seemed. What's your name? How old are you? Mo Bay, 13.5. The little person always had the same expression when she answered. Bojio was addicted to teasing her. She tapped her face lightly and said lazily, Supreme Alliance doesn't hire child labor. As expected, the little person frowned. Can't I be a trainee first? Trainee. Bojio couldn't help but reach out to caress the little person's head. Before she could move, a clear and cold voice came from behind her, You haven't bought the water yet? Bojio stopped and glanced over. She saw the handsome face that could make all newbies willingly follow his orders. I'm almost done. I met an interesting little kid. Chi Nemo followed her hand and saw a little boy with his head raised. He was waiting for someone to touch him, his face expressionless. Others might not be able to tell, but as a psychological profiler, he could clearly see that the little boy was not in a calm mood. It was obvious from the mineral water bottle in his hand. Otherwise, his hand would not have clenched so tightly. Even his eyes were deep. It was obvious that he was looking forward to something. Little Bojio had never been able to resist good-looking kids since she was young. Chi Nemo reached out and pulled her over. His voice was still calm. Don't touch me as you please. You're like a weird auntie. Weird, auntie. Bojio was struck by the description. She was so handsome, how was she like a weird auntie? Alright, let's head back after we're done with the water. Chi Nemo held onto her hand and walked away. Bojio turned back, not forgetting to give him a faint smile, full of devilish charm. Let's meet in a while. Chi Nemo noticed the red keyboard on the back of a little boy, and guessed that he was a contestant who had come to participate in the competition. Therefore, he didn't say much. Bojio continued, Little kid's face is easy to poke. Chi Nemo arched a brow, turning to look behind him. He saw that the little boy was reaching out and poking his own face. It was obvious that he was nostalgic for something. This made Almighty Chin's eyes sink even deeper. How old? MH. Bojio raised a brow. How old is he? Chi Nemo asked casually. Bojio lifted her thin lips. 13.5, that's a young age. You haven't even passed Supreme Alliance's recruitment age and you were recruited internally. You seem pretty good. Chi Nemo didn't say anything else. He glanced in the direction of little boy with a hint of warning. Chapter 15:12. Supreme Alliance's internal selection wasn't usually open to the public. It had been the same when Spade Z had entered. But this year, Supreme Alliance was stronger than ever. They were the national champions and the defending champions of the Asian Cup, making Supreme Alliance a team that almost every young esports fan wanted to join. It was even more so than Xiangnan. Many people were saying that the all-star era of esports was coming. Spade Z and Qin Mo seemed to have become a hot topic. There were many reporters at the entrance of the Qin Group's building. They were all waiting to see who would pass Supreme Alliance's internal test. Due to the large number of newcomers, the internal test was split into 3 batches. Everyone who entered could see Qin Mo and Bo Jiu sitting at the front. Their aura was so strong that when they were playing, they wouldn't dare to face such an opponent in the wilderness. But there were some who weren't afraid. For example, there was a newcomer who wanted to replace Bo Jiu. From his point of view, he could do the same thing with the phrase, "Your wilderness is my home." Everyone was thinking about Spade Z's expression when she heard that, hence, they all turned to look at her. But who knew that she was sucking on her lollipop, acting as though she hadn't heard anything. Her eyes were fixated on a single spot. The newcomer felt that he was being looked down upon, his face clearly unhappy. "Just you wait, I will definitely show you my ability, Spade Z." Lin Feng listened by the side, unable to resist sharing it in the chat group. A newcomer wants to challenge little Spade. A newcomer is still young, he hasn't been tricked yet, it's normal for him to have such thoughts. The world's most handsome fatty sighed. What did little Spade say? Did he beat him until he called him daddy? Lin Feng sent an emoji of a finger wagging. She didn't say anything, she seems to be in a daze, probably thinking about what to eat later. Captain's candy has already been emptied. Coco, that's why you are sitting there, being a third wheel. Lin Feng. Don't be so harsh. The world's most handsome fatty, it's simple, Yunhu can go as well. Lin Feng switched off his phone before turning it on. Chat normally. I've heard of that newcomer, he's not bad. Someone sent a personal message. The most handsome fatty in the world, this ID looks familiar. He came to Xiangnan before. Running in both directions. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. World's most handsome fatty, no, he looked down on our team and said he wanted to join the champion team. Lin Feng, for some reason, I feel very foolish and naive. Why didn't I have such thoughts when I was young? Wait a minute. There seems to be a situation. Situation? What's going on? Zhao Sanpang was so anxious that he even started a private chat. F***CK, Lin Feng, why did you stop talking? Is little Spade fighting with the newbie? Tell her not to be soft-hearted. Young people need to hit hard. Lin Feng. Little submissive Lin. Yunhu's domestic slave. Lin Feng, F***CK, what are you talking about? It's my family that raised him, understand? Zhao Sanpang chuckled and was about to mock him. Another voice came from the other side. Ha ha ha, that newbie was beaten up by a kid. Zhao Sanpang, a child. Lin Feng didn't reply because he was looking at the screen excitedly. He turned to ask Bo Jiu, you've been looking at this kid since the beginning. Chapter 15:13. Bo Jiu leaned forward and supported her chin with one hand. She smiled lazily. It's easy to notice a good-looking face. Lin Feng's face darkened. I thought you were looking at the little boy's skills. What little boy? Bo Jiu glanced up and corrected him seriously. He's a handsome little girl. Lin Feng widened his eyes. Little girl. That didn't seem like it. Chin Mo didn't think so. Bojo had always treated a good-looking child as a girl since she was young. Her words couldn't be trusted. To increase her credibility, she said, "If you don't believe me, I'll call him over and you can ask him. Regardless of whether he's a boy or a girl, I won't let you bring him home." So. With that, Chin Mo reached out and pinched her chin. "Look at his results and grade him." Bojo twirled the pen in her hand. "Brother Mo, I don't have to grade him. You saw his hand speed just now, he's comparable to Zhao Sanpang." Zhao Sanpang, who wasn't present. "What?" Chin Mo replied slowly, "It sounds like you admire him." "Brother Mo," Bojo suddenly leaned over. "Don't be jealous of a child. Be good." Chin Mo's fingers paused, the tip of his pen slightly tilted. "Sit back down." Bojo laughed. She didn't change her expression and continued to list the child's merits. Outstanding positioning, able to turn the tables against the wind, and able to control the rhythm of consciousness. This child is suited to be a jungler. If he's in our team, he can increase the team's attractiveness. Lin Feng interrupted. "If we increase the attractiveness, people will say that Supreme Alliance chooses its members based on looks." Bojo glanced over and thought for a moment. "Looking at your beautiful face, you should know who we are." Lin Feng. I can't continue the conversation. The newbies who were still testing were all wearing earphones. They couldn't hear what the three of them were talking about. But just by looking at the screen in front of them, they could feel that the person with the ID bay was really amazing. They weren't sure if it was intentional, but she purposely grabbed one person to beat. The newbie who had wanted to challenge Spade Z was going crazy. "Hey, what's wrong with you?" Little Mo Bay didn't say anything and continued to move forward. To her, this person wasn't qualified to challenge God Z. That rookie never expected that he would be beaten up before he could even make it through the internal competition. Moreover, it was someone he had never heard of before. One had to know that he had a fan base. The rookie was still thinking of counterattacking and teaching his opponent a lesson. But the match had already been stopped. The first blood rule was that whoever got first blood first would be the winner. The rookie was filled with indignation. He believed that he was young and had a bright future ahead of him. After taking off his earphones and standing up, he requested for a rematch. Bojo glanced at him and stood up, her silver hair falling down. "How do you want to compete?" The newbie was forced to take a step back. He also could not understand why the other party, who was only a year older than him, had such a sharp aura. But if he released it, he would not take it back. "Let's have a 5v5. Bojo moved her wrist, replying slowly, "There's no need for a 5v5. At this point, she glanced sideways. "Bae, come over and fight with me. Let's play 2v4. Godzi knew that person. Chapter 15-14. The little boy wasn't tall and his dressing was a little rustic. She didn't know which era his sportswear was from. Thanks to his face, he looked fair and handsome. Otherwise, no one would be interested in seeing her dressed up like this. However, this wasn't the main point. The main point was this the bae who was fierce when fighting just now? They couldn't tell at all. Also, wasn't she a little too young? Everyone had to lower their eyes when they looked at Imo Bae. Under normal circumstances, twins of the same egg would have less nutrition than others. When they were young, they wouldn't be very big. In addition, Imo Bae's clothes looked like she had borrowed someone else's, which made her look even younger. Everyone had a look of disbelief on their faces. They couldn't connect the person in front of them with the assassin in the game. On the other hand, Bojo lifted her thin lips and waved at her. Little Mo Bay walked over. She raised her small face and didn't have any emotions. If it's 2 against 4, I need to change the keyboard I brought. Are you used to using the red keyboard? Sure. Bojo reached out and took out the keyboard from her backpack. Then, she turned her body sideways and found a random computer. She changed the keyboard. Her movements were so fast that people wondered if she was a professional. Changing the keyboard was a common thing for Bojo. After adjusting it, she pressed the restart button of the computer. She leaned there and smiled. Who said he wanted to fight just now? Come on. The newbie watched from the side. He didn't know why, but he wanted to retreat. He thought that his skills were already very good among his peers. But he didn't expect that the person who defeated him just now was a child. Now, the two of them were going to join forces. But what if he won? If he really won, it would be said that he defeated Spade Z. This topic was too tempting for him. The newbie smiled. It's me. Sit. Bojo tilted her face. Her silver hair fluttered with her movements. The newbie sat down and found 3 friends that he often played with. They were here for the internal testing. The newbies sitting in front of the computer were both excited and afraid to compete with Spade Z. They couldn't suppress their opponent, so they looked at each other, their nervousness obvious. What's there to be afraid of? Our skills aren't bad. We didn't become a professional team just because we didn't participate in the previous matches. Besides, it's a 4v2 right now. It's not certain who will win. The newbie had a good idea. Moreover, both of them are assassins. Their positions are conflicting. There are only so many resources in the wilderness. If they dare to come to our wilderness, the 4 of us will surround them and make sure they never return. When the newcomer said this, he seemed to have forgotten that Spade Z was an all-rounder. She could play any position. Hence, when Spade Z chose the tank team, the rookie was dumbfounded. What was going on? Not only that. Choosing Tanfu was one thing. You're even bringing a jungler. Wait a minute. Spade Z's team was a double jungler? Everyone turned towards the little boy and Bojo. The top 20 players in the internal testing arena were crowding around them. They stretched their necks to take a look. Even Lin Feng was interested. Captain, isn't this the first time Little Spade is assisting someone other than you? Chapter 15:15. Lin Feng felt a chill down his spine. He silently took half a step back. Their captain was indeed extremely possessive when he was in love. He and Coco had discussed this problem in the past. They didn't know who would be so unlucky to be fancied by their captain. They definitely wouldn't have any freedom. But after that, their captain treated Little Spade well. Basically, Little Spade did whatever she wanted. Hence, they didn't think too much about it. Now, it seemed like jealousy had never stopped. Chi Nemo didn't look at Lin Feng, who was standing beside him. Instead, he walked towards the place where everyone was gathered. He could faintly hear a clear and smiling voice. Don't be nervous. It was Bojo. She wore a black earpiece and waved the mouse with her right hand. She skimmed towards the enemy's wilderness while comforting the person beside her. MMH, Little Mo Bay replied. Her small face didn't show any emotions. She had a poker face as she clicked the mouse and followed. Through the big screen, everyone could clearly see the overall situation. Chi Nemo didn't seem interested in the overall situation. He reached out and pulled a chair over. He sat behind Bojo. His long legs were long and slender. His side profile was handsome. His aura seemed calm, but no one dared to come over. In an instant, the surroundings became much quieter. To a certain extent, this also ensured that everyone who played the game would think the same way. There were so many people walking around. Even though their discussions couldn't pass through the earpiece, it still affected their concentration. In the game, Bojio had already crossed the river. She hid in the bushes and aimed at the opponent's blue buff. The commander on this side was still hesitating, because he couldn't predict whether the opponent would come. After all, the game was filled with fog. As long as he was in an area, he would be able to see the opponent's position. Now, because he wasn't sure, they were all there. The newbie couldn't act rashly. But based on Spade Z's usual playstyle, she would definitely turn into the wilderness the moment she came up. But now, did the opponent have a red buff or a blue buff? The two beasts weren't in the same area. Just as the newbie was hesitating, all of a sudden, he was hit by a stun spell. Bojio was indeed in the wilderness. But she didn't snatch the red and blue buff. Instead, her first attack landed on the opponent's assassin. The newcomer hurriedly gave the order to gather. The other three all rushed over, afraid that Spade Z would leave with the head. After all, anyone who had played in Zone C knew how vicious Spade Z was when it came to killing. At the start, the newbie took a step back. Now that everyone was here, he immediately rushed forward, intending to retaliate. Just like what he said before, if they dared to come to the wilderness, they would surround them. But what they didn't expect was that Spade Z would change her tough style and retreat to the bottom of the tower. What did that mean? No one could understand if Spade Z wasn't sitting right in front of them. They thought they had met an imposter. After all, Spade Z's style had always been to kill a monster in the opponent's jungle. But today, it seemed like he didn't dare to start a war. It seems like Spade Z is just a so-so. The newbie gleefully took down his blue bundles. I haven't met them before, but now that I have, we won't give you a single one of them. Chapter 15-16. The crowd erupted into cheers. That was because they could clearly see on the screen that their side of the jungle had been cleared with a red buff. Spade Z didn't come to the enemy's blue buff to take their blue buff. Instead, she played a beautiful diversion. She used herself to divert the enemy's attention so that little Mo Bay could sweep the other half of the enemy's jungle. The crowd was starting to explode. But that wasn't the end. Spade Z, who had cleared the minions, jumped towards the red buff area and blocked the opponent's ADC. She used her own move and stunned him. The three of them were shaken to the spot. At this moment, Mo Bay, who had taken the red buff, leaped forward and attacked the ADC until his HP was low. The newbie reacted and hurried over to support. The ADC's positioning wasn't a problem. He used sprinting to retreat and hurriedly pressed the return button. Only then did he avoid the danger of losing 1 HP. The opponent's sorcerer was also frightened by this violent fighting style. He didn't dare to leave the tower. Spade Z was really fierce. Her fierceness was usually unexpected. You didn't know when the opponent would suddenly explode. She could even do something as crazy as crossing the tower. But because she grasped the opponent's mentality, Bojio didn't have any intention of retreating. When she saw the newcomer, she moved nimbly and avoided his attack. She turned into the bushes and leaped forward, knocking the assassin out. When little Mo Bay saw this, she dashed forward again. After her jungling skills were maxed out, she could directly slow down the opponent. After being stunned, she was slowed down and was hit by a series of attacks. The newbie didn't have much HP left. He shouted for reinforcements. The opponent's people were indeed rushing over. But because they didn't manage to get any resources or minions, they only cared about intercepting Spade Z. Their economic foundation determined their equipment. Their awareness wasn't there and their speed wasn't fast. Hence, their reinforcements were half a beat slower. The newbie gritted his teeth and was about to press the maxed-out jungling skill to slow down the opponent's speed. But he didn't expect to be stunned again. Spade Z's support skill shot out something that looked like a strip. It could cause damage from a distance. The newbie was waiting to recover. But in the next second, he paused. He watched as the player dashed to his side and used a max-level jungling skill to reduce his speed once again. Not only did the player get close to him, but he also dealt lethal damage to him. He, who had always dominated the jungle and was known as a jumping hero, did not even have a chance to jump. There was a deafening special effect in the game. First blood. The first drop of blood. Who has the head? People subconsciously turned to look. Words appeared on the screen. Spade Z. Using support to take the first HP. And the one he killed was an assassin. Deafening cheers rang out in the small private venue. It was the truth of the words fans often used to describe her. Who said I wanted to attack your monster? I'm going to hit you and take the red and blue beasts from you. The other party was already feeling a little numb from this kind of heavenly performance. In the past, he didn't think much of it when he watched the competition. After all, they had always believed that Spade Z's defeat was mostly due to her positioning or maneuvering. If it had been them, they definitely wouldn't have done such a thing. After all, Spade Z's moves weren't invincible. But when they sat down and fought with Spade Z, they realized that Spade Z was the real deal. There were some things that you couldn't think of, and even if you did, you wouldn't be able to keep up. It was a different feeling from being able to look at the entire map from the audience's perspective. They couldn't even guess what Spade Z wanted to do. Originally, he wanted to watch the operation at the beginning. He thought that the other side was worried about the 2v4 and wanted to hold back a little, so he wouldn't be too aggressive. He didn't expect that her target from the start wasn't anyone else, but the assassin from their family. There was a principle in playing this game. As long as you can suppress the opponent's assassin, then the wild zone will basically be yours. It seemed like Spade Z wasn't worried at all. It was because they had used conventional methods to think of her style of play, and they had thought of it wrongly. Someone shouted, FC King, God Z. All that was left in the surroundings were the shouts. Some of the opponents wanted to stop Spade Z, but when they saw that her HP didn't seem to have dropped, they stopped. All of a sudden, he lost all thoughts of intercepting them. But even if they didn't stop her, it didn't mean that Spade Z wouldn't take the initiative to attack. She already had a kill on her, so she had pulled away from the opponent in terms of finances. In addition, their little assassin was hiding in the bushes at the side. Bojo didn't hesitate. She leaped forward and used the special skill of dizziness. That was when the audience realized that in the seemingly easy operation, there was a shocking technique involved. Up until now, no one had been able to accurately hit Spade Z. On the other hand, the damage she dealt was able to knock out two opponents at once, and her attacks didn't miss. Achieving this sounded like a very thin task. But when it reached the extreme, hand speed, prediction, consciousness, passive moves, familiarity with the map, and even the key points of the opponent's skills. All of these required the operator to be incomparably familiar with them. Not everyone could reach this step. Not everyone was Spade Z. Even though this was the first time they played together, little Mo Bay, who was extremely cooperative with Bojo, leaped over the moment the two opponents were knocked out. Her target was the fragile ADC. The ADC didn't have a red buff on him. Even if he resisted, he could only deal a little damage. At this moment, Bojo followed over. She used her max-level jungling skills and forcefully reduced the ADC's speed. This time, the ADC didn't escape. Little Mo Bay twisted her wrist, and with a beautiful movement, she successfully took down the opponent's head. Did she think it was over just like that? How was that possible? Bojo sat in front of the computer with her black earphones on and a smile on her face. This meant that she had locked onto her next target. The opponent's tank wanted to cut off their back in order to protect their sorcerer. But he didn't expect that Spade Z didn't go for their sorcerer. Instead, she turned back and hit him with a stun. Little Mo Bay didn't say anything when she saw this. With such a high level of cooperation and the whole set of damage, even a tank would lose some HP. The newbie on the other side saw this and immediately rushed over. Even if he couldn't kill Spade Z, he would be able to bring this arrogant child away to regain some face. After all, once the assassin's damage was used up, he was basically useless. But just as he was about to come in with his spear, a voice suddenly rang out. But in the next second, he froze. It was another jungling skill that slowed him down. Chapter 15-17. The opponent didn't manage to provide support in time and lost another player. The newbie wanted to retreat when he saw that his sneak attack wasn't successful. But when he turned around, he realized that he was too dumb and naive. Spade Z had already used her big move. How could she let him go? She leaped forward and used the formation she brought out to lock the newbie in place. The newbie seemed to have been electrocuted. He couldn't move at all. Moreover, little Mo Bay was there too. Even if she didn't have any more moves, her long sword would still be able to cause a certain amount of damage. But the highest damage came from Spade Z's big move. The newbie watched as his HP was sucked dry. He didn't even have the strength to retaliate. He couldn't even jump over the wall. It's no wonder Spade Z chose this hero character. This auxiliary tank was originally used to counter assassins. Anyone who plays as an assassin knows that the most terrifying thing is to be controlled. I want to know how that person feels right now. He can't even jump. It's so pitiful. He must be doubting his life from being controlled. Spade Z is using his jungler skills as a control too. This logic tells us not to challenge Almighty Z. The entire game ended. Mo Bay was either hiding in the bushes or Bojo was hiding in the bushes. They took all the resources in the opponent's jungle. Then, they split into two groups to clear the enemy. They didn't even take their own jungle. First, they broke through the tower. After equipping themselves with blood-sucking equipment, they didn't even have the intention to return to the city. The newbie's words were like a slap to his own face. He didn't even let the opponent take a single wild beast. He was the one who couldn't get anything. In the end, he reacted and wanted to go to the opponent's jungle to counterattack. But he forgot something. If he did that, he would waste a lot of time. Hence, he hadn't reached the middle stage yet. There was a fatal economic gap between the two teams. But Master Bojo didn't intend to drag the competition to the later stages. Just 3 words: beat, hammer, and be tough. The opponent's ADC was trembling in fear. Almighty Z, is it okay for a support to be so fierce? But anyone who calmed down and studied professional competitions would definitely realize that. If the support played well, it could easily become the key to victory. This game was meant to counter and kill each other. It all depended on how you used it. Everyone thought that it would be over after pushing the tower. Unexpectedly, Spade Z and Mo Bay hid near the bushes by the river at the same time. He didn't move at all, and no one knew what he was doing. The rookie leaped over and wanted to demolish the tower. But before he could jump, Spade Z froze him in place. Basically, once Bojo pinned him down, she would bring him away. From the beginning to the end, the opponent's score was 0. As an assassin, the newbie was unable to perform at all. It was because he had been restrained for too long. Seeing the city being destroyed, his face turned ashen. They lost even in a 4 versus 2 fight. Not to mention a duel. Moreover, the rookie also knew that he would be beaten up even more badly if he were to fight one-on-one. Right now, Spadesy was still using support. What if she used her best assassin skills? The rookie did not dare to think further. He took off his earphones as the burning sensation on his face had not stopped since the beginning. Bojo smiled lazily. She wanted to ask, is it time to call him daddy? However, when his gaze fell on the little person sitting next to her, he retracted his hand. It's not good to lead children astray. Chapter 15-18. Are you done? Chin Mo's voice rose slowly. If one listened carefully, it sounded cold. Bojo took a step back. Then, she seemed to have thought of something. She used the slide of the chair to reach Chin Mo's side and stood up. She placed one hand on the chair and tilted her head. In front of everyone, she planted a kiss on the side of his face. Her silver hair fell down. She was still that handsome and arrogant youngster. I'm done. I'm asking for a reward from Captain. This time, Chin Mo smiled. He pulled her to his side and looked towards the newbies who were stunned. The top 5 in terms of data, stay behind. Little Mo Bay stood up. She carried her school bag and stood at the front of the line. Chin Mo swept her a glance and didn't say anything. But he knew that this little boy was in a good mood. Little Mo Bay was indeed in a good mood. Even though there wasn't any emotion on her face, she was happy inside. She hadn't expected to be able to play with Almighty Z. Besides, she seemed to have touched her head just now. With this thought, little Mo Bay reached out and touched her head. Chin Mo's gaze deepened. He left the rest to Lin Feng. He dragged a certain someone to the office on the top floor and locked the door. Bojo still didn't understand what was going on. The Almighty pressed her onto the office sofa and started kissing her. All he could smell was the faint scent of mint. His thin lips pressed against her ear, and even his voice carried a trace of numbness. Did you have a good time playing games just now? MH? It's nothing much. Bojo's body trembled. When she felt his hand sliding in, even her eyes started to tear up. Chin Mo held her waist and lowered his gaze. When are you going to change the fact that you want to bring a good-looking child home to raise? I only want to raise one. Bojo immediately understood the reason. Chin Mo arched a brow. Then why did you help her? Brother Mo, she is really a little girl. Bojo felt that she had to make things clear. Chin Mo smirked. When you first met me, you said I was a little girl too. Bojo. Did he hold a grudge for so long? Lin Feng is still there. You can ask him, Bojo suggested. Chin Mo leaned forward. He will ask. We will solve your problem slowly. What else do I have? The rest of Bojo's words were replaced by kisses and hands. Chin Mo was really jealous. Even when he was young, he didn't want to be surpassed. A numbness spread from her tailbone. Bojo was locked in his embrace and moving would only bring her closer to him. His hands were under her clothes, and the strength of his kneading was impossible to resist. Even if it was through the friction of his trousers, it was the same. Bojo wanted to move but he pressed her long legs down, his voice still beside her ear. In the future, don't touch other people's heads so casually, understand? That voice was a little heavy. The air in the room was heating up bit by bit. The more he behaved this way, the more she could see his seductive side. Once that handsome face was stained with other things, it was like a noble god falling from the sky. There was a faint evil aura on it, making people want to be controlled by him more. Chi Nemo wasn't going to let her off just like that. Chapter 15:19. The numbness engulfed her like a wave. This time, it seemed to be stronger than any other time. He had purposely targeted the spot where she couldn't take it. This was probably the Almighty's punishment. The frosted glass blocked everything. It was still cold outside. But the heat in the room couldn't be stopped. When Chi Nemo leaned over again, she could see the sweat rolling down his face. The sight of him in his uniform made her want to snap him in half and imprison him in her arms. Bojio had nowhere to put her hands. She could only wrap them around his neck. Her thoughts were completely blank, the only thing she could feel was her racing pulse. Step by step, it was mixed with the sound of their heartbeats. It was as if someone had set fire to their bodies. Even the mole under the corner of her eye seemed to be shimmering with tears. Chi Nemo watched her, his gaze darkening. When it reached a certain level, he stopped and hugged her, burying his handsome face into her shoulder. His breathing was heavy. "I won't stop after you get into a university. There are still 2 more months." Bojio was in her uniform. Other than that, her white shirt was open to her waist, her fair arms hanging by the side. Her beautiful eyes were still a little dreamy, like a black swan that had just been fished out of the water. Her silver hair and snow-white skin were so beautiful that it made him want to continue. With a twitch of his fingers, he pulled his uniform over and wrapped it around her before hugging her in his arms. Bojio felt his heat and knew it was best not to move. The temperature gradually dropped, but it wasn't easy to get rid of his thoughts. Chi Nemo glanced at her again. This time, he stood up and walked into the bathroom in the office. Bojio could vaguely guess what he was doing when she heard the sound of water. She felt her face heating up. She decided to divert her attention, taking a bottle of chilled mineral water from the small fridge. When the temperature of his body dropped, Chi Nemo came out. His black hair was chilly. He wasn't wearing a shirt, only a pair of long pants. There were still water droplets on his thighs. His eyes were so deep that one couldn't look away. Bojio took another sip of mineral water. She couldn't be seduced so easily. In the end, she would be the one with the backache. However, she couldn't go out in her current state. His neck and collarbone were covered in marks, and his shirt was wrinkled to the point where one could tell what they had done at a glance. The smart Bojio knew that the Almighty was doing it on purpose. Chi Nemo didn't leave her alone. He reached out and snatched the bottle of mineral water from her hand. "What are you thinking about? That kid just now?" "No." Bojio smiled. She leaned over, wanting to take advantage of the Almighty since he had just come out of the bathroom. She couldn't control herself. "I was thinking about you." Chi Nemo's eyes moved. He turned his head to look at her. Then, he suddenly smiled. He emptied one hand and lifted her chin. He slowly moved closer but didn't kiss her. His breath landed on her lips again and again. "You should think about your physics results. You'll have tutoring later." "Bojio. Is this boyfriend biological?" Chapter 15:20. So it turns out that jealousy is this powerful. Bojio found the Almighty adorable. Ever since he had grown up, she had never seen him like this. Other than when Hoshino was around, there were still some traces. Usually, the feeling the Almighty gave her was that he didn't seem like a boyfriend. Instead, he seemed to be there to supervise her studies. Now, it seemed like the jealous little Princess Chin was still around. Bojio had never forgotten how he had threatened her back then. For example, "Little Bojio, if you want to play with others, don't play with me." The way he said it now was simply the same old saying. Bojo smiled, a mischievous smile on her face. She didn't care that she was being controlled. After all, it wasn't easy for someone to control her after so many years. Even her heart had a place to rest. They often said that when you were in love, you shouldn't give everything to another person. Bojo was certain that he had never met someone who hadn't changed since he was young. So that you could eat a piece of candy whenever you wanted. He would never force you to do anything you didn't like. He didn't care how others saw him. In his heart, you are you. Bojo spent a long time worrying about what would happen if her identity was exposed. Now, she finally understood. No matter what she looked like, he would be infinitely tolerant. It felt good to be hugged in his arms. Even though it was the physics test that she hated the most. She could still smell the faint mint scent on his body. Thinking back, she had lost too many things. The whole world had once been shattered. Fortunately, he was still here. Compared to the warmth in the office, the internal test seemed very nervous. Everyone was looking at their own results. Not everyone could enter the top 5. Lin Feng supported himself with one hand on the table and looked at the data records. He glanced over and put on his uniform. He started calling people from the 5th place. The newbies who were called had an obvious look of disbelief on their faces. From the 5th to the 2nd place, these people weren't old. They should have just entered high school. What they were curious about was who would be first. Bei. Lin Feng retracted his hand and looked towards the little boy, who was carrying a school bag. He smiled playfully. Little Bei paused for a moment and walked over. Only now did the people around them understand what kind of monster they had just fought. Number 1 in hand speed. How did this child achieve such a heaven-defying figure? All right, the people I called, follow me and fill out the form. Lin Feng clapped his hands and led the 5 rookies over. Halfway there, she suddenly tilted towards little Bei. Interesting. Little Bei felt that the other party was looking at her with a complicated gaze, but she, who was usually expressionless, did not show any expression. The smile on Lin Feng's face grew wider and wider. He wondered what his captain's expression would be if he knew that this little boy was one of the rookies in the team. Fill in your name, age, gender, contact information, and home address according to the form. Lin Feng placed the 5 pieces of paper on the table. Also, write one more emergency contact number. It was supposed to be a very ordinary process. However, just as Lin Feng slipped to the side of the little boy, and saw the little radish holding a fountain pen and filling in the gender field with the word female, Lin Feng was stunned. Chapter 1521. The child's gender was out of Lin Feng's expectations. Hence, Lin Feng could only let the other 4 leave first. In the entire archive room, only Lin Feng and Bei were left staring at each other. Little Bei was still carrying her school bag. This was the 3rd time she had raised her head to look at the clock hanging on the wall. Lin Feng sent a series of question marks and exclamation marks in the discussion group. He wanted to ask everyone what they should do if they found out that their youngest new member was an ice cube little girl. They couldn't arrange a dormitory. They had to be more careful when they smoked. It seemed like she was still too young. Are you 13 years old? Lin Feng asked. Little Bei replied, 13 and a half. When I was young, I was used to talking about myself. This makes me seem more mature. I understand. Lin Feng acted as though he had been through it. He instinctively reached out his hand to pat her shoulder. In the end, he remembered her gender and retracted his hand. Does your family allow you to play games? My mother doesn't care. Little Bei paused for a moment. My brother is very supportive too. He and my mother will come and fetch me later. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. What about your father's attitude? He doesn't approve. Little Mo Bei looked up. He feels that playing games is wasting his studies. It's fine for boys but not for girls. Lin Feng paused. Little Mo Bei knew that her words would have a certain impact. She continued, he doesn't care too much about me as long as I can earn money. Originally, he was watching the child operate. Lin Feng thought that she would be similar to Little Spade. But now, it seemed like everyone grew up in a different environment. Strangely, he recalled the first time he met Luo Luo. It was probably the same. That person was short of money at the start when she was a trainee. But no one wanted to be short of money. Lin Feng kept the file. Report the day after tomorrow. You will sign a contract. In the future, you will be a trainee of the Supreme Alliance. The salary isn't very high, but it is definitely the highest among all the teams. Our captain is rich. After Mo Bei finished listening, she finally asked, does it mean that you agree to let me join? Isn't there your mother and brother in the parental consent column? Lin Feng smiled. My father didn't agree to me playing games in the past. My mother can make the decision. At this moment, Mo Bei finally looked like a child. She carried her school bag and her short black hair was pressed down a little. She looked small and cold. From now on, you will be under Little Spade's care, Lin Feng said as he divided the children into groups. He couldn't possibly let these rough men lead him. After all, she was a little girl. Come to think of it, little girls nowadays are fiercer than boys when they play games. In the future, Hero would not be dominated by women, right? Shivering with cold. Unlike Lin Feng's overthinking, little Mo Bei's lips curled up slightly after hearing his words. She reached out her hand and touched her head. If Almighty Z was the one who took care of her, she would be able to touch her head frequently in the future. On the same day, the Qin group announced the hand speed data. This was done so that the media would not dig deeper. People only noticed the age on Supreme Alliance's name but not the gender. In the end, only a few people knew that Bei was actually a little girl. After filing the documents, Lin Feng gave a simple summary of the child's situation. In the end, he added, similar to Luo Luo. Chapter 1522. Lin Feng sent an okay gesture. No problem. I'll apply for it from Almighty Shao. Bo Jiu smiled. After all, Luo Luo is from Xiangnan. We have to be well-mannered when we ask her out. Lin Feng smirked. You are obviously trying to cause trouble. Bo Jiu didn't deny it. Lin Feng was excited when he asked her out. I even mentioned it in the discussion group. But I told that fellow that even if they meet, Luo Luo can only treat him as a friend. That fellow agreed and said that he wanted to fight for a chance. Luo Luo is very generous. She said that there are still her fans in the circle. She is quite happy. Can we meet in the afternoon? Bo Jiu asked about the time. Lin Feng replied. She switched to the WeChat chat and sent a message to Xiao Jing. Indeed, not everyone from Xiangnan went back. After the competition, the club had been busy. Moreover, Xiao Jing's medical discussion was here too. Zhao Sanpang stayed behind because he had some interviews to do. Their plane tickets were for the next day. Luo Luo didn't know how she was going to tell her teammates about her retirement when she returned to the team tomorrow. It was good to go out for a walk and organize her thoughts. When Xiao Jing received the message, his fingers paused. He was sitting in a university's exchange center. As a special guest, he had a speech later. His assistant followed beside him and watched him go up the stage. He had wanted to record down the professional knowledge that senior brother Xiao was going to talk about. Unexpectedly, the speech was unprecedentedly short. Originally, the school had arranged for an hour. But Xiao Jing used a human anatomy diagram in 20 minutes to explain the main points. Many of the students wanted more after listening to it. The school was elated. After all, the shorter the time, the better. After the speech ended, a group of professors walked over. They wanted to invite Xiao Jing for a meal. There were many big shots in the medical world. Xiao Jing put down his documents and said, "I'm sorry. I have something urgent. I'll invite all of you another day." The school obviously wanted him to stay. They tried to persuade him for a while. They received the same answer. They could only let him go. Xiao Jing didn't change out of his white coat. Instead, he took a bunch of car keys from his assistant. "I'll return them to you tomorrow." The assistant was a girl with a good family background. She smiled faintly and said, "Senior brother Xiao, you can take it. My house is nearby, and I can talk to my uncle about academic matters." "Senior brother, is it really okay for you to leave like this? They are all big shots in our industry. What is it that they want to do today? Isn't the competition over?" "It's not a competition." Xiao Jing's voice was indifferent. Someone went on a blind date again. The female assistant was stunned. She wondered if she had misheard. Then, she remembered the female team member who had come to find senior brother Xiao. She smiled and said, "It's really hard being a team leader. You have to worry about the feelings of the female team members. Are you worried that she will meet some scumbag?" Xiao Jing nodded and didn't say anything more. The female assistant looked at his back and didn't pay much attention. "I heard that the female team member has already announced her retirement. In the future, he would most likely not appear by senior brother Zhao's side. Esports had always been about youth. She had told that person before that senior brother Xiao would eventually become a doctor, and he would be different from them." Chapter 1523. The weather at the start of April was very suitable for a date. Jiang City wasn't that cold anymore. She just needed to wear a trench coat outside. Luoluo's dressing was much more relaxed. Her long hair was draped behind her like silk. Due to her outstanding looks, she attracted the attention of the people around her the moment she entered the cafe. She glanced sideways and rolled up her sleeves. She looked around and was about to send a message to ask the other party where he was. Just then, someone raised his hand and held onto her bag that was about to be swapped. He smiled faintly and a little shyly. "Goddess Luo." Luo paused and looked at the person. He was obviously younger than her. His face was pleasant to look at, and when he smiled, she could see two canine teeth. Lin Feng's friend had this kind of divination too. "The seat on the left," the person said. Then, he stuffed his hand into his pocket. Luo then noticed that when the person stood up straight, he wasn't short. He was 1.8 meters tall. The two of them sat facing each other. The person's face was still red. He seemed even younger. Luo laughed softly. "You aren't old, right?" The person glanced sideways. "I'm an adult. Do you want to drink something?" "Okay." Luo looked at his face and felt that she had aged. The person took the menu and pushed it over. "You order." At first, Luo didn't believe what Lin Feng said. She thought that the person really treated her as a goddess. But now, she believed him. "What do you like to drink? Dessert or not?" Luo flipped open the menu and asked the person. "Not sweet." After Luo ordered 2 cups of pure Americana, she noticed that the person didn't dare to look at her. She smiled faintly and suggested, "Do you want to play a game?" Okay. This was probably the advantage of being a professional player. When the two of them couldn't find a topic to talk about, they could start a game. Luo seemed to have thought of something. "Add me as a friend on WeChat first." "I haven't asked you how I should address you." "Feng Yang." "My ID." After the young man finished speaking, his handsome face began to blush again. After all, to him, he had never thought that one day he would be able to add his goddess's WeChat. Luo had heard of this name before. She had even fought against him before. She had thought that he was an older person. After all, his fighting style looked explosive and experienced. She hadn't expected him to be this type in real life. As expected, she guessed that the people in their circle couldn't be analyzed based on their fighting style, personality, age, and appearance. The WeChat was accepted. Luo was about to raise her hand when she saw the person's profile picture. That portrait was her picture, and there were 3 words written on it, "My goddess." Luo paused. Feng Yang also seemed to realize that something was wrong. He immediately reached out and pressed down on her phone. Luo laughed softly. "Many people of your age use this avatar of mine." "Yes." Even Feng Yang's neck was red, which didn't match his overall image. "Our entire team is your fan." Luo raised her phone. "I can't embarrass myself in front of my fans. I'll play well later." This sentence alleviated the awkwardness at that time. When Feng Yang entered the game to choose his hero, he couldn't help but look at the person opposite him. He wasn't sure if it was because he was a fan or because he had a good impression of him. No matter what, he didn't want this person to retire. 2 professional players were playing online, and it was a team with different teams. Naturally, it was eye-catching. Chapter 1524. F***CK, is there something wrong with my eyes? Luo and Feng Yang are playing together. Why isn't it with my brother Fatty this time? They can play together even if they aren't in the same team. Is there a problem? My god Yang got what he wanted and finally connected to goddess Luo. I can imagine my god Yang's inner thoughts. It's wonderful. The era of the little wolf puppy is coming. My god Yang must have done something. Feng Yang's fans basically knew that his goddess was Luo. After all, his god Yang's Weibo was filled with his goddess's updates. Feng Yang might look like this in front of Luo, but he wasn't usually like this. He was a rather cold kid. However, Luo wasn't wrong. He was indeed young. He had just turned 18. The fans didn't dare to think about the 2 of them playing together. But once they thought about it, they felt that it was a little sweet. The little wolf puppy could finally get close to the goddess. People really wanted to see what would happen next. Even though the 2 of them didn't turn on the live stream, it didn't stop the endless stream of people watching. The people who were matched saw the 2 IDs and were instantly dumbfounded. 2 professional players. Are we still playing? Let's play first. Don't forget, we are high-level players too. Arrogant. These words were obviously meant to comfort themselves. Otherwise, they wouldn't have said it on the public chat. However, it wasn't their conversation that caused a heated discussion online. Instead, some fans took a screenshot of Luo and Feng Yang standing together and circled it in a heart shape before posting it. I feel like they are in a relationship. The moment this was posted, some people mocked them. Thank you. Our god Yang doesn't want to date. He simply likes his skills. He doesn't want it to become a reality. All these years, Luo has taken a liking to many little wolves. Honestly, they have all retired and are old. If they want to leave, they should leave quickly. If I can't find a boyfriend in the future, I will go and play games. Anyway, there are so many girls around me that I can flirt with. It was fine if these words were mocked. Anyway, that was what they said in the past. Unexpectedly, in the next second, Spadesy posted a status. This is my first time matchmaking, but Luo only knows how to play games. She's too obedient. Lin Feng followed up with another message. Someone actually asked me what I should say to his goddess so that it wouldn't be awkward. Zhao Sanpang was even more direct. Some people shouldn't play games just to find a boyfriend. Not many guys will be interested in them. Listen to me, this is an era where looks are as well as people. Do you really think that all the guys who play games are blind and can't see who has worked hard and who hasn't? People who like you can really tell what kind of person you are. When Feng Yang was interviewed, he was asked who his goddess was. When he answered Luo, a group of fans mocked him for looking at his face. Some female fans even said that he should open his eyes and check the gossip posts he had posted in the past to know what kind of person Luo was. Feng Yang thought, I know what kind of person she is the best. While everyone else had given up on training, she was still training her hand speed. She would never look down on those who lost to her, nor would she try to pull them down when they were taller than her. Now she was retiring. Chapter 1525. Suddenly, a tall and slender figure came over. He had a strong scholarly aura. That person stood behind Luo. He wore a half-opened white coat and a pair of gold-rimmed spectacles on his high nose bridge. For a moment, people couldn't associate him with Almighty Xiao, who was known as the group's soul. But everyone who played esports was familiar with that handsome face. Feng Yang paused and looked at Xiao Jing. As a man, his intuition told him that Xiao Jing was right. His instinct as a man told him that this person didn't appear here by chance. Even though he was a player that he had always admired. But there were some things that he didn't want to give up. However, Luo, who was playing the game, noticed the person behind her. When she glanced over, there was a look of surprise in her beautiful eyes. Captain. Xiao Jing's voice was calm. After Luo hit her character in the bushes, she asked, Are you eating with the professors nearby? Xiao Jing leaned against the wall. He didn't reply to her. Instead, he stretched out his hand and tapped on the screen. Ranking. Luo didn't understand why her captain appeared here. Xiao Jing added, Let's talk after you are done playing. Luo's fingers weren't as smooth as before. Why did her captain appear here? Halfway through the game, Luo suddenly thought of something. She glanced at the person opposite her. Captain, this is Feng Yang. I've seen him before. Xiao Jing nodded towards Feng Yang. His eyes were deep. Suddenly, Feng Yang understood what it meant. His fingers paused. He originally thought that Almighty Xiao appeared because he was worried that Luo would meet a scumbag like the last time. He wanted to prove himself. But now, he realized that it wasn't the case. As a fan, he knew that Luo's eyes were hiding many things when she looked at Almighty Xiao. There was admiration, yearning, and perhaps a little something else. But he had never thought that she liked those other things. She probably hid it too well in public. Even Almighty Xiao was the same. They hid it too well. Many people thought that their relationship was that of a captain and a member. She had never thought of these two people in that way. It wasn't until today's private occasion that Feng Yang realized that the intimacy between the two of them was natural. He was different from the people he usually hung out with. It seemed to be an atmosphere that could only exist after many years. Even if it wasn't love, it was hard for others to get involved. Xiao Jing was still watching Luo play the game. When he saw that her attention wasn't on him, he said, Let me play. It'll be faster. Indeed, Luo couldn't continue the call. She passed the phone to him and looked at his side profile. Then, she looked at his slender and fair hands moving back and forth on the screen. He seemed very serious. Therefore, he couldn't ask, "Where are the professors?" Qin Mo, Xiao Jing, and the others all had their own special moves when playing games. It was a unique style of play formed by his positioning and hand speed. Ordinary people couldn't learn it at all. In this new wave of team battles, Xiao Jing circled around and dodged the skills thrown at him. Then, he charged into the crowd of players. As he pulled and pulled, he formed a formation and perfectly harvested 2 players. In an instant. The onlookers were a little excited. Wait a minute, did I see wrongly? This positioning doesn't seem like Goddess Luo's, right? It's unusually sharp. I can't help but think of my almighty Xiao. I feel that the person above is the truth. What should I do? 3 consecutive fatal moves. It's definitely almighty Xiao. Why is almighty Xiao playing Goddess Luo's account? This is indeed a problem. I feel a little heartache. What should Yang do? Almighty Yang has been looking forward to merging with the goddess for a long time. Did he merge with almighty Xiao? But from what almighty Lin Feng said, almighty Yang should be on a date with goddess Luo. I don't have enough brain cells. I can't understand it. What's there to understand? Can't almighty Xiao chase her to a coffee shop and disturb her date? Call me the Emperor of Truth. Impossible. It's impossible. Don't think too much. It's impossible for almighty Xiao and Luo to be on the same team. The moment he said this, everyone started to deny their previous guesses. Moreover, the game was won very quickly. Feng Yang understood that even if he continued to sit there, he wouldn't be able to change anything. He felt a little pain in his heart. However, he wasn't willing to accept it. After seeing the comments on the internet, as a fan, he felt that his goddess wasn't worthy of someone else. He took the opportunity when the 2 of them were about to leave and suddenly opened his mouth. His voice wasn't loud, but it was loud enough for the 3 of them to hear. Luo, can I continue to contact you? Luo paused for a moment before smiling. Of course, you can contact me on WeChat. In the future, you can use a small account to queue. The big account is too eye-catching. Okay. Feng Yang had a cold personality. After he said that, his face felt a little hot. However, he had basically achieved his goal. It didn't matter if that person was almighty Xiao or not. They should understand that there were still many people who liked their goddess. Indeed, Xiao Jing's light-colored eyes rippled a little because of her words. He thought that they only added each other as friends in the game. They were even friends on WeChat. Luo didn't understand why her captain appeared. She was about to ask something. However, he suddenly took off his white coat and threw it to her. Put it on. Luo wasn't used to her captain being so considerate. Moreover, she wasn't cold. She blinked her eyes and didn't move. Xiao Jing looked at her. He knew that she didn't realize it. He thought for a moment and bent his back slightly. His fingers touched the white coat in her hand. Luo was shocked by his sudden closeness. The 2 of them were too close. From her position, she could see the hair on his black head. Her nose was filled with the fragrance of his scholarly aura. Xiao Jing didn't say anything. He just wrapped the 2 sleeves of the white coat around her waist and tied a butterfly knot. After realizing what he did, Luo's gaze suddenly changed. She blushed and looked at him. Did something happen to me? Yes. Xiao Jing rarely saw her like this. When he looked up, he seemed to be smiling. It's all red. Luo reached out to cover her face. A beauty was beautiful to the bones. This was how she looked. It's so embarrassing. My image is gone. Captain, Feng Yang didn't see it, right? Chapter 1526. He is my little fanboy. Luo lowered her head and tightened the white coat on her body. I can't disappoint him. Xiao Jing didn't say anything. Luo knew that their captain wasn't interested in such things. At the start, she wanted to ask him why he was here. Now that he mentioned it, Luo felt sticky everywhere. She knew that she would be here soon, but she didn't expect that she would be here today. She knew that she would come in the next few days, but she didn't expect that she would come today. She knew that she would be here in the next few days, but she didn't expect that she would be here today. I want to buy something first. Luo lowered her voice. Captain, your white coat probably won't be able to be washed. Xiao Jing glanced sideways and said calmly, it's the last time I'm wearing it. Let's go first. The things you want will be delivered at the hotel. Luo didn't insist. If she was in front of someone else, she might feel embarrassed. But in front of him, she wouldn't feel so awkward. The reason was simple. The members of the team lived together almost every day. This wasn't the first time he saw her. Luo still remembered the first time he saw her. They won the competition and he treated them. In the middle of the meal, when she brought a plate of meat over, he covered her head with his coat. Put it on. That was summer. She wore a white chiffon dress. She didn't realize that she would be here. Just like today. At the start, she didn't understand what he meant. But after she realized it, she felt awkward. At that time, Xiao Sanpang was still teasing her about why she wore a coat on such a hot summer day. That was why the straight men in the esports industry weren't gentle and considerate. All their thoughts were on esports. They were used to calling each other brothers, so they treated you as though you didn't have a gender. At that time, she was still sleeping in the team's dormitory. It was a single room in the attic. Because her stomach hurt, she lay down after she went back. She didn't even eat the dessert that Xiao Sanpang bought for her. Then, she heard a knock on the door. He came in with a bowl. The bowl was filled with brown sugar and ginger water. There was also a box of Wuji Bifeng pills. At that time, Luo didn't understand why their captain was so understanding of girls. But after she found out that he was a medical student, she suddenly understood. She tugged at the blanket. When she first came into contact with him, she really couldn't let go. When Xiao Sanpang found out that he was taking care of her, he teased him about it. After that day, he winked every day when he saw her. He even used his elbow to nudge her. Captain, don't tell me that you're attracted to our Luo because she's pretty. Then I have to eat the wedding candies in advance. With the wedding candies, I'll keep it a secret. What do you think? What do you mean? Luo heard his voice. It was very calm. If you can have your period, I will do the same thing. Xiao Sanpang, I'm a man, it's a bit difficult for me to do that. So don't think about these meaningless things. I will check your hand speed tonight. Oh no. Captain, let's talk about it again. Let's change it to tomorrow. Clearly, Xiao Sanpang had a mental breakdown from that day onwards. Because he had said the wrong thing, his training time was extended by an hour every day. Since then, he had never made fun of the two of them. It was also from that day onwards that Luo understood that the care he gave her was mostly due to the care a captain gave to his team members. However, because she was a girl, he treated her with more patience. When she thought about this, Luo couldn't help but press her lower abdomen. She was probably immersed in that kind of gentleness and couldn't extricate herself. That was why she was like this now. She knew that she shouldn't like him, but she couldn't control herself. Get in the car. The other party's voice rang in her ears again. Luo raised her head and saw a small sports car. She opened the car door and entered. She could even smell a wave of perfume. Her fingers paused. She didn't sit in the front passenger seat. Instead, she sat in the back seat. It was obvious that a girl was driving this car. There was a photo pasted in front of the car. On the back seat, there was a row of neatly arranged medical books. Luo had seen the person in the photo before. Because she had seen him before, she turned her head and looked out of the car window. She had thought about how he would be like after he had a girlfriend countless times. Now, she was more or less clear. Fortunately, she had already retired. In this case, she didn't need to face him. She could still send him a blessing every year. After she stopped playing games, she would probably meet someone. Maybe it would be difficult to find someone who wouldn't look at what the internet said about her or who wouldn't look down on her previous career and education. But there would be someone. After Luo told herself this, she smiled lightly. Because she had predicted it countless times. Hence, when all of this came, she felt that she could accept it. After all, he didn't ask her to attend his wedding now. In the past, when she went to university and saw him standing together with that girl, she felt that their temperament was compatible. 3 years had passed. Her intuition had come true. Instead, she felt relieved. In the future, she had to maintain a distance. Even if she was his team member. She couldn't be reluctant to part with his gentleness just because he knew how to take care of her. Once she returned to the team and had a farewell meal, she would prepare to leave. She was indeed a little worried. She would receive his invitation in a few days. For people with high education like them, even their wedding would be unexpected. When they reached the place, Luo didn't show her pain like before. She smiled and wanted to go upstairs. But Xiao Jing pulled her back. Stomach ache. It's all right. It doesn't hurt that much. Luo didn't forget his professionalism. She rejected him. I will pass after lying down for a while. Xiao Jing's gaze landed on her pale lips. You don't look like you will pass after lying down for a while. Really? Luo touched her face. I don't have makeup today, that's why I look a little haggard. I want to go up and sleep. I'm too tired. Xiao Jing let go of her and didn't say anything. Luo thought that she would be able to get by just like that. After she entered the room, she tidied herself up. She took off her blood-stained pants and changed them into pajamas. She raised her head and drank a painkiller. The moment she lifted the blanket, she saw him walking in with a bag in his hand. Luo wasn't stupid enough to ask him why he had her room card. As her captain, he had a backup of everyone's room card. On the contrary, when Xiao Jing saw the medicine box on the bedside table, he frowned slightly. Luo was still holding a cup of hot water. When she saw her phone light up, she didn't have time to speak to him. She lowered her gaze and replied to his WeChat message. Chapter 1527. Luo had never expected him to ask her such a question. Her fingers paused for a moment. Nope. You met 2 people in 3 days. Xiao Jing sounded as though he was just stating a fact. Luo felt a little uncomfortable. She combed her long hair to the side and wanted to explain. My family was pressuring me. I couldn't reject the previous blind date. This time, I just want to make friends. I treat my little fans very well. I'm protective of them. In the end, Luo felt relieved. Actually, there wasn't anything embarrassing about being seen by him in such a manner twice in a row. She smiled and said, I'm indeed a little tired. I want to find a boyfriend, but I won't do it among the fans. They are all, what do you think of me? Before Luoluo could finish her sentence, she was interrupted by this question. She froze for a moment. She suspected that she had heard wrongly and wanted to remove her earphones. Xiao Jing looked at her. When he saw that she had no intention to reply, he reached out and removed her earphones. He was a little close to her. You didn't hear it just now. When that familiar breath landed on her ear, Luoluo's slender fingers tightened. He had spoken to her in this manner countless times. He had corrected her habits in the game and tested her hand speed from behind. He had never done this for a personal matter. They were in the same team and it was impossible for them to not be intimate. This happened naturally. Even when they won the championship, she would hug him and he would bend over to hug her. This didn't mean anything. At that time, they were teammates. It was pure. But now, Luoluo didn't know what to do. Her heart was beating so fast that it felt as though it was going to jump out of her heart. Even the pain in her stomach seemed to be ignored. Only his voice was left in her ears. Let me ask you again. What do you think of me as your boyfriend? Xiao Jing lowered his gaze and landed on her face. If you really want to date. Luoluo reached out and rubbed her ears. She looked at Xiao Jing. She hadn't thought about this question. She really hadn't thought about it. She didn't dare to think about it. She was afraid that she would do something if she thought about it. But this person had too much influence on her. Captain, stay away from me. At least, her heart wouldn't beat so fast. Seeing her move, Xiao Jing's eyes darkened. Can't accept it. No. Luoluo took a deep breath. Captain, are you still single? Xiao Jing's voice was indifferent. Yes, but it won't be tomorrow. Luoluo didn't think about the deeper meaning behind his words. The owner of the car today, who? Xiao Jing glanced sideways. When did you focus on the assistant the school assigned to me? Didn't I tell you that I wouldn't look for someone from the entertainment circle? Luoluo's face froze. When you said that you won't look for people from the industry, you mean you won't look for people from the medical world? Okay. Xiao Jing was a man of few words, even in this situation. Luoluo really wanted to. She took a deep breath, sat up and grabbed her long hair. Xiao Jing raised his eyebrows and reached out to smooth her long hair. What else do you want to ask? Just now, you said that if I want to date someone, you have to be my boyfriend. Luoluo bit her thin lips. It shouldn't be as simple as you liking me. Chapter 1528. Xiao Jing didn't reply immediately. He seemed to be thinking of an explanation. He had always been a strict person. He was different from Qin Mo. He was also different from Bojo. He was also different from Yunhu and Lin Feng. I've never thought about dating. Xiao Jing's fingers were still on Luoluo's hair. I just thought about it these few days. If I can't calm down to read and train the moment I hear that you are going to meet someone, it should be. Luoluo could feel the warmth of his hand. Her face was a little hot, but she understood Xiao Jing's words. She knew that she liked him much more than him. Who was the one who said that girls shouldn't like too many guys? If not, they would suffer. But she finally had a chance and this person was confessing to her. Luoluo hesitated. It wasn't because she liked more guys. It was because, my education isn't high. MMH, Xiao Jing replied. I know. Luoluo. I want you to answer me. I like money a lot too. Xiao Jing looked at her. Do you want me to reward you during the live stream? Luo knew that her captain had a low EQ. His thoughts were either given to the game or to his nemesis, Chin Mo MMH, I want you to reward me. Luo smiled. Reward me more. Captain, you really don't understand what I mean by, I like money. For example, if your mother takes out 5 million to ask me to leave you, I might not be able to do it since I still have so much money in my savings. But if your mother says that if I don't leave you, it doesn't matter if I don't get the 5 million. She even wants me to compensate Xiangnan 10 million for the breach of contract. Xiao Jing frowned slightly. He couldn't help but ask, have you been reading such novels under Spade Z's influence? Bojo's overbearing CEO falls in love with me and Little Wife, Where Are You Going were famous in the discussion group. Luo and Jiao had always been close. It was normal for Xiao Jing to think this way. F***CK. Just as Luo gave up on communicating with him, Xiao Jing gave a serious explanation. Xiao Jing explained seriously, my mom is also a medical student. She has a lot of classes and doesn't have much money on hand. She shouldn't be as rich as you. Even if she was, she wouldn't do something like this. She only suspects that I'm gay and can't bear to leave Chin Mo. She can't wait for me to find a girlfriend. Xiangnan won't ask you for compensation. Even if you do, I have it in my card. You don't have a high education level and you like money. I happen to have all these things. At this point, he paused for a moment, and his voice was very calm. Do you need to talk so much when you're in love? When she heard the last sentence, for some reason, Luo wanted to laugh. My house isn't in Jiang City. It's on the national highway of a small county. It's a little far. It's written on your team profile. Xiao Jing glanced at her colorless lips and reached out to lift the quilt. I'll take it as a yes, patient. Luo's heart skipped a beat because of his domineering attitude. He was sitting right beside her. She thought for a moment. It was probably because her captain didn't want to talk anymore. That was why he was so decisive. After she took the brown sugar water from him, she watched as he threw the painkillers on the bedside table into the bin. It still didn't feel real. Because before and after the confession, the way they interacted seemed to be the same. There wasn't any change. Chapter 1529. He didn't look any different from before. Basically, he just watched as she raised her head and drank a huge bowl of brown sugar water. Then, he continued to sit there and do his own things. Except that he didn't return to his room. In the past, he only said a few words. Now, he still said a few words. But this was good too. If her captain suddenly became like Fat Tai and asked about her well-being, she wouldn't be used to it. Even now, she still felt a little awkward that that person had become her boyfriend. If it was in the past, she would have lifted the blanket and gone to the bathroom to change. But now, her heart was beating really fast. The commotion on her side had probably caught his attention. Xiao Jing put down the medical materials he was reading and glanced at her. Why aren't you going to the bathroom? Why was she so shy? As a boyfriend, was it appropriate for him to ask his girlfriend this question? Luo glanced at him. She wanted him to understand the problem of EQ on his own. She didn't expect him to directly walk over, bend over, and pick her up from the bed. From her angle, the contours of his face were very distinct. Luo's fingers paused. She tried to keep her voice steady. In reality, her heart was beating so fast that it sounded like it was ringing loudly. What are you doing? What do you think? Xiao Jing lifted his chin. I'm going to change. Luo lowered her voice. I'm asking why you suddenly came over and hugged me. You looked at me just now. Xiao Jing's words were simple. Luo understood that her captain had misunderstood the meaning of her gaze. After going to the bathroom, to avoid the awkwardness, Luo splashed some water on her face. When she walked out, she saw Xiao Jing holding his phone. She walked towards him. "Are you playing games?" It was fine if she didn't look sideways. The moment she looked, she saw his message. It was just one sentence, but it was posted on the official platform. After tagging her, he said, "We are together." In that instant, Luo didn't know if she should retract her head or not. She felt as though she was soaked in an unknown sweetness. The taste of the brown sugar water was still lingering on the tip of her tongue. This was the first time she felt that the brown sugar water was delicious. She was about to pretend that she didn't see it and return to the blanket to enjoy herself. Just then, he looked up. "It's okay to inform everyone, right?" "Yes." Whenever Luo was nervous, she liked to tidy her hair. Even though this action looked beautiful, in reality, her jade-like ears had turned red. He continued to read his medical book, as if he had just done something he was supposed to do. Luo's state of mind was completely different from before. When she lay back on the bed, she couldn't help but take out her phone. She looked at the explosion caused by the official message and secretly took a screenshot of the message he sent. However, one could imagine what kind of turmoil Xiao Jing would cause when he released this kind of news. Just that sentence alone was enough to attract many fans. Moreover, he even circled Luo. F***ck, 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 I must have eaten dinner the wrong way today. What did I see? I've rubbed my titanium alloy dog eyes. I didn't see wrongly. I, Xiao de Quan, am indeed my goddess Luo. Together. It's definitely not what I think it is. How could these two people be together? It's impossible. It must be because April Fool's Day is coming. I, Xiao de, must be joking. The commenter above is the one joking. Does Almighty Xiao know about April Fool's Day? I couldn't tell from the interview. Goddess Luo said she wouldn't look for someone from the industry. She even took action against Almighty Xiao and they are from the same team. So what if they are from the same team? Supreme Alliance is digested internally. Why can't Xiangnan do it? Some people should stop mocking me. I support Almighty Xiao. Instead of being snatched away by an unknown woman, why not be together with Luo? They have known each other for a long time. It's normal for them to have feelings for each other. Snatched away Almighty Xiao. I don't support such a relationship, but it doesn't affect my liking for Almighty Xiao. I won't accept it anyway. Bless you. The two people I like the most are together. Almighty Xiao, treat Luo well. Luo swiped her fingers. These were the comments. Some were bad and some were good. She thought that it would be over. Unexpectedly, another message from Xiao Jing popped up very quickly. I'm just informing you. This meant that it didn't matter if others accepted it or not. Some fans were completely heartbroken. They shouted that they wanted to stop being his fan. Luo didn't say anything when she saw this. It seemed that the longer she stayed in this industry, the more she understood. Everyone said that they liked you, but they didn't really like you that much. They would change because of other people's comments about you. They would also express their disappointment when they found out that they couldn't get you. Actually, it was understandable. When she was young, she had put in a lot of effort to get everyone to like her. A bad comment could affect her mood. After experiencing so much, she understood that it was impossible. She just wanted the person she liked to not hate her. Just like now, it was very good. Luo glanced sideways at the man who had just sent the message and was looking at the medical book again. He must have noticed her gaze. Xiao Jing lifted his head and paused. Luo Luo. Mmh. Luo Luo was a little shy when her gaze was caught. Xiao Jing spoke again. I have never had any experience in dating. If there are any areas that I haven't done well, you can tell me in advance. Luo Luo didn't expect to hear this. She couldn't control herself and hugged his waist. Her face was slightly hot. No, you have done well enough. Xiao Jing originally wanted to hug her back or caress her long hair like how he did in the past. However, when he saw her pajamas slide down, his hands suddenly paused. His gaze was unprecedentedly deep. Belt. What belt? Luo Luo was still thinking. She followed his gaze and saw the belt of her underwear. Her originally hot face turned even redder. She reached out and pulled her pajamas up. Then, she felt awkward. Fortunately, the handsome face in front of her didn't have any emotions. If not, she really wanted to find a crack on the ground and hide in it. Xiao Jing turned sideways and grabbed a corner of the blanket with one hand. Then, he used force and covered her entire body. His voice was indiscernible. Don't wear this kind of pajamas in the future. Mmh. What else could Luo Luo say? She gripped the blanket tightly. Her heart was beating rapidly. It was different from the two people here. The discussions online were still going on. The most important one was Lin Feng's repost. Poker Face Xiao's operation is awesome. It seems like Little Spade and my matchmaking stimulation is successful. Thank you, Hero Feng Yang. Some netizens were still mocking him. Just now, you said that my almighty Yang likes Luo Luo. Now, do you understand? My almighty Yang is just helping. However, very quickly, Feng Yang personally posted on Weibo. Ever since I entered the industry, I have been Luo Luo's fan. I was in the past and I will be even more so in the future. It is good that she can be together with Almighty Xiao. I hope Almighty Xiao can treat her well. If not, our Luo Luo fans will snatch her from your hands. That one sentence expressed his attitude completely. Bo Jiu saw this and sent a private message to Lin Feng. Your brother is not bad. Of course. Lin Feng had a proud expression. Birds of a feather flock together. Brother knows him, how can he be bad? Seeing Luo Luo and Poker Face Xiao like this, it is considered perfect. It is a retirement gift for Luo Luo. Bo Jiu saw this sentence and smiled. She seemed a little mischievous. They are perfect. What about you and Almighty Yun? I say, Team Flower Lin, did you forget what I said the other day? The one who takes the initiative can decide the position. Who said that I forgot? I am not afraid to tell you that I am already fully prepared. I plan to take action today. Just you wait. Wait for my good news tomorrow. When Lin Feng sent this sentence, he was looking for a reliable shop. On the other end of the phone, Bo Jiu's smile couldn't be any more obvious. Go. I wish you success in attacking. Success in attacking. Little Mo Bei, who was sitting beside her, had just finished playing a game. She took off her earphones. There was no expression on her little face, but she was thinking about this idiom. Bo Jiu thought to herself that she couldn't teach a child bad things. She tilted her handsome face. Ha! Did I say that? You must have heard wrongly. Little Mo Bei, are you hungry? Mo Bei shook her head. Then, she looked up and said seriously, Captain said that we can't eat in the practice room. Captain has always had so many rules. You don't have to follow them. Bo Jiu smiled faintly and reached out to pinch her face. Her movements were very gentle. Little Mo Bei, you are a girl. Don't learn from Captain. You look better with more expressions. Come, smile. Then, tell me what you want to eat. Her favorite esports player was so close to her. Little Mo Bay's ears turned red. She tilted her head. Almighty K, what do you want to eat? Meat, 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 wine, wine, wine. After Bojo finished speaking, she met the child's eyes again. Wine doesn't count. Let's just eat meat. Little Mo Bay replied, MMH, her ears were still red. The reason why Bojo said that she wanted to eat was firstly because she liked to eat. Secondly, she wasn't sure if it was because of what Lin Feng had said previously, but the child didn't pay much for the food expenses here. As a trainee in the Supreme Alliance, there was a canteen inside. The food was cheap, but that was the price. The child didn't even eat any food for lunch. She only ate a mantou. Bojo glanced over. She supported her chin with one hand and glanced at little Mo Bay. There was no expression on her face, but the child seemed very happy. Happy. That was good. She was really similar to the Almighty when he was young. The way she expressed her happiness was also so different. But Bojo was different. Lin Feng inhaled deeply and walked into a shop decisively. At this hour, there weren't many people buying things for the night. He had purposely chosen this time. Not only was he fully armed, he was also wearing a black mask. He had even pulled up the zipper of his jacket just to cover his face. Chapter 1530. The boss of Tangerine's shop hadn't noticed Lin Feng at first. Most of the people who came to buy things were normal. But with Lin Feng's appearance, it was hard for the boss not to notice. He watched as this person walked in from outside. Next door was a chain hotel. The boss wondered if this person was here to rob him. But on second thought, it was just a nighttime goods store. What was there to snatch? She calmed down. Lin Feng had planned to pay the bill and leave quickly after getting the things. Who would have thought that this was his first time in such a store? Even though he had searched online, he couldn't find anything. What's with all this? What's with all this? Lin Feng's ears were a little red as he looked at those things. F***ck, were things so advanced now? In the past, they just watched movies. Now, there was a wide range of dazzling things. He didn't recognize any of them. Anyway, he had to buy those condoms. MMH, the internet said to ask for good quality and lubrication. This way, Yunhu wouldn't feel so bad. The more Lin Feng thought about it, the more thoughtful and intelligent he felt. As a man, this kind of thing had to be self-taught. He was facing this customer who wanted to learn without a teacher. The shop owner held a rag in his right hand and a box of things in his left hand. He was thinking, this person. How long was he going to look at the things in his shop? Boss. Lin Feng grabbed his collar tightly. Like a thief, he took a box of things and pushed it forward. Wrap it up. The shop owner felt that his line was a little different. He took a bag and was about to put the things in it. Transparent plastic bags. Lin Feng's eyes were wide open. There aren't any black plastic bags. You can't see what's inside. The shop owner thought to himself, do you think this is a girl going to the supermarket to buy sanitary pads? Let me help you. Thinking that this was the first time this person was buying things, the shop owner was good at thinking from the customer's point of view. Do you want to put down your hand? I'm the only one here. The mask can cover your face. You don't have to pull up your collar. The weather is hot now. Lin Feng shook his head. I'm fine like this. He definitely couldn't be recognized. He had to trick him into showing his face again. In the beginning, Supreme Alliance organized an annual meeting. When he was dressed as a woman, what everyone said, he definitely wouldn't take photos. But now, he was here to buy nighttime products. He had noticed that there were cameras outside. When the time came, there would be news about famous esports players patronizing nighttime goods store. His illustrious reputation was ruined. Since Lin Feng had said so, the shop owner didn't insist. He rummaged in the box for a while and finally found a paper bag. You can't see inside this either. Ah, it's done. Thank you. While speaking, Lin Feng decided to show his imposing manner. Boss, do you have that thing here? The innkeeper couldn't see his expression, but after hearing his words, he seemed to understand. He took out a whip and said, the latest model. Those who have used it all say that it's good. It doesn't hurt when hit. Lin Feng looked at the whip and was dumbfounded for a while. I mean, it's more comfortable. It won't hurt that much. That thing. Brother. The shop owner smiled. There's a saying that I don't know if I should say. Whether it's comfortable or not depends on one's skills. But you've come to the right place. Girls like this. Chapter 1531. Use it on your boyfriend. In that instant, the boss's expression was indescribable. But as a shop owner, he met all sorts of people. He calmed his expression. He took out all the things that Lin Feng wanted. Lin Feng saw that when he took it out, it was from a packed box. There were still a lot of delivery forms on the other side. He leaned over and asked, Boss, you can even deliver these things. I don't need to deliver the usual things. For people like you, you usually buy things online. After all, you don't want others to know. The boss was rather open-minded. Hence, I put the word snacks on the box. Lin Feng felt a little regretful. Why didn't he think of buying such things online? Boss, leave your contact details. Immerse. I will probably buy more in the future. You can send them to me by express delivery then. Sure. After settling everything, Lin Feng, who had bought what he wanted, was very happy. When the boss sent him out, he coughed softly. Pardon me for asking, are you a celebrity? You dress yourself up so tightly. Let me tell you my experience. The more you dress like this, the more attention you will attract when you go out. Brother, be more natural. It's nothing. Lin Feng wouldn't take off his mask no matter what. He only said, see you later. Then he took the things he bought and jumped into his car. Only when he entered the car did he release his hand. He heaved a huge sigh of relief. Then, he took his phone and took a photo. He couldn't see what was in the bag. This made it convenient for him to post it on his social media. He added the words, "Today is the day." His tone was filled with ambition. The people in the group chat started asking questions. Rao Rong, today. What? Luo Luo, you are going to cause trouble, Flower Lin. Coco, what's in the bag? World's most handsome fatty, little submissive Lin, I have a feeling but I don't know if I should tell you. Forget it, Buddha said that you can't say it. Among the mocking comments, Bojio's comment was the most eye-catching. She said, all the best, I have high hopes for you. Everyone was curious. What exactly was going on? The most interesting thing was that Lian Yunhu also left a message below. After sending a few question marks, he said, where are you? F***CK. F***CK. Lin Feng was probably feeling guilty. When he saw the message, he almost dropped his phone. After he calmed himself down, he tapped on Yunhu's profile picture and sent a message. I'm outside. I'm going back now. Do you want to come over to my place? Yunhu was a little surprised that this person had taken the initiative to ask him out. Ever since the last time he had asked him out, he had used all sorts of reasons to reject him. Okay, I'm near the Lin family. Yunhu added, do you need me to pick you up? Lin Feng tilted his head and sent a voice message over. No need, I'm not at the Lin family. I'm at my own place. It's close to the company. Your own place. Yunhu said these words a little slowly. It wasn't that he didn't care about a certain someone going out alone without telling him. What he was most concerned about was hearing that it was close to the company. Could it be that the person who brought him there had already been there? It was an indescribable feeling. But a certain someone didn't seem to have the self-awareness of being a lover. If it wasn't for this time, when had he planned to report to him about the existence of such a place? Were people always so unsatisfied? Before you got him. He thought that as long as he could stay by his side as a good brother, it would be fine. Not being hated by him was the best ending for him. When they were in high school, when he brought a girl to see him, he then realized that it was very painful. Hence, he couldn't take it anymore. He didn't hesitate to make it clear to him in the end. But at the last moment, after seeing his shocked and resistant expression, he was still afraid. Afraid that he would completely push him away. He couldn't even return to being a good friend. Hence, he thought of many ways, including finding someone to pretend to be someone close to him. Now that he thought about it, did he give someone a chance to get close to him when he was doing such things? He couldn't hide his love. Where did the restraint and forbearance come from? He wanted to tell the world that this person was his. He also wanted to get him as soon as possible. He had thought of all kinds of methods. He even wanted to use the deal that person wanted the most to negotiate. If not, he wouldn't have rejected when someone sent him to him. Yunhu forcefully suppressed the darkness in his eyes, his fingers moving as he replied, I haven't been to your place yet. Lin Feng was indeed very carefree, completely unaware of the big deal. I'll send you the location. Yunhu kept his phone, glancing up at a certain young master who was about to form another meeting. You guys go, I have something on. Someone said, don't, young Master Yun, let's go together. Yeah, let's go together, this dinner is specially for young Master Yun. Yunhu placed his hands in his pockets and laughed lightly. It has been almost a month since I came back. You guys have been welcoming me every day, it's about time. You guys go. Since he said this, the others couldn't stay any longer. Yunhu had always been thorough, asking Lin Feng before driving, what do you want to eat tonight? Buy it outside and bring it back. It's fine, I bought everything, you can do it. Lin Feng bought an extra bottle of white wine on purpose, it was the best thing to boost his courage. But when he drank later, he had to be careful and make Yunhu a little dizzy, he couldn't get himself drunk first. Lin Feng's idea was good, basically everything was ready except for one last thing. Fortunately, Yunhu wasn't a girl, so he didn't need to prepare a candlelight dinner. Lin Feng bought a few stir-fried dishes and placed them on the dining table. Today's meal wasn't important, it was more important to drink. In order to prevent himself from feeling guilty when he saw the real person later, he took out his phone. Lin Feng took out his phone and looked through the tutorial again. Honestly speaking, he was still a little conflicted. But for some reason, the moment he thought of that person being Yunhu, it seemed easier to accept. Just as he was thinking about this, the doorbell rang. Lin Feng paused, closing his phone hurriedly. He stood up immediately, organizing his thoughts before opening the door as though nothing had happened. In reality, his eyes didn't dare to look at anyone. What took you so long? Yunhu glanced at him, sizing him up. Why are you dressed like this when you were with the people from the courtyard? Dressed like this? Lin Feng just realized that he hadn't taken off the disguise he wore when he went shopping. It's cold in autumn, I'm wearing more to prevent a cold. You need to dress like you're going to rob a bank to prevent a cold. Yunhu laughed lightly. Your face is red because it's hot, right? MMH, Lin Feng replied in his heart. What did you know? His face was red because his heart was beating faster at the thought of being on top of him. But Lin Feng wouldn't say such things. Up until now, he felt that everything was going smoothly. What day is it today? You even bought wine. Yunhu walked over. When he saw the bottle on the table, he raised his eyebrows slightly. Lin Feng pretended to be deep. Luoluo is about to retire. I haven't been in a good mood, so I drank some wine to relax. Not in a good mood. Yunhu glanced over. Both of them were about the same height, but in terms of aura, they couldn't be compared. This was probably because of their looks. After all, Yunhu's face was chiseled and tough. I see that you and Little Spade are having a good time with Luoluo and Xiao Jing. Lin Feng paused. If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. Speaking of which, I really didn't expect Luoluo to like that poker face. It's really unexpected. Yunhu pretended not to notice that he was changing the topic. Instead, he sat on the dining chair and said, I really didn't expect it. Lin Feng thought in his heart, he could finally follow the procedure. He decisively picked up the wine bottle. He first filled Yunhu's glass and then poured a mouthful for himself. Shall we drink one? Yunhu looked at the wine in his glass and then at his own. Just like this. Don't mind such details, Lin Feng said as he raised the bottom of his glass. Yunhu didn't mind drinking more wine. He pulled his collar with one hand, his gaze unreadable. Lin Feng saw that he was drinking happily, but he couldn't make it too obvious. This had to be done in a proper manner. Eat something first. You can drink when your stomach is full. Lin Feng placed a piece of braised beef on Yunhu's plate. He pretended not to see him, but in reality, his eyes had been drifting over. Yunhu ate the braised beef without a change in expression. His other hand took out his phone from his pocket and swiped it twice emotionlessly. Lin Feng had been focused on what he was about to do and didn't notice his actions. Unknowingly, at this moment, Yunhu sent a message to Bojo. Yunhu sent Bojo a message. Spade, do you know what Lin Feng is thinking about recently? Bojo was sitting in the club, watching the trainees playing games. When she received the message, she held her chin and smiled. It's a good thing for Almighty Yun. Have you seen him? Enjoy it and don't forget to thank me after it's done. This sentence was inexplicable. But it also explained something. He couldn't get any concrete information from Little Spade. Yunhu's gaze landed on a certain someone. He raised his glass again. Come, have another drink. This time, it was even more excessive. One was plain water. The other was white wine. Could a certain someone's intention to get him drunk be any more obvious? Did he think that he couldn't see his little actions? Yunhu didn't reject the glass of wine. But when he picked it up and drank, he tilted the cup slightly, spilling more than half of the wine on the floor. His alcohol tolerance wasn't bad. In fact, it could be considered good. Chapter 1532. Yunhu placed his glass down nonchalantly as though he didn't see through his thoughts. He casually asked, "What's in the bag of the photo you posted in your moments?" Lin Feng paused. Why did Yunhu have to talk about this topic? Nothing much, just drinking. Yunhu lifted his eyelids when he heard this. He looked at the person's erratic gaze. It seemed like the thing in the bag was the main point. But what exactly was it that made him so abnormal? Even Yun-hoo, who had a calm mind, couldn't figure out what Lin Feng was thinking. After all, Lin Feng was indeed too straight sometimes. The two of them sat on opposite sides of the dining table. They ate absent-mindedly. Lin Feng kept wondering why this guy wasn't drunk yet. He had already drunk 5 glasses of water. It would be too much if he did any more tricks. Most importantly, it was a little too quiet. The quieter it was, the more guilty Lin Feng felt. He stood up. "I'm going to the washroom." He had drunk so much water. He had to take a stroll inside. It was probably a coincidence. The moment Lin Feng entered, his phone rang. Yun-hoo held his glass with one hand. When he glanced at the caller ID on the screen, his gaze deepened. Are the two of them still in contact? However, that was unavoidable. After all, his role in the Lin family was to teach Lin Feng some things. But even though his rationality told him that was the case, he couldn't accept it emotionally. Sometimes, Yun-hoo questioned himself. Was his possessiveness too strong? But it was fine if he didn't have any thoughts about someone. But once he knew that the other party had thoughts about him. Just like the girl in high school who would blush whenever he pulled her braid. Yun-hoo's heart would always feel uncomfortable. At that time, the only solution he could think of was to divert the girl's attention. That was why he chased after her. It was a joke. But at that age, at an age where he couldn't say anything, he did it. In the end, the girl finally agreed to be with him. Yun-hoo could clearly see that the person was stunned. He used his fist to bump his shoulder. Not bad, brother. Yun-hoo still remembered what he had said. Don't blame me. That person didn't seem to understand. Strange, why? I can tell that you have feelings for her, Yun-hoo said. At that time, he had been a little scheming. That person rubbed the back of his head and grabbed a handful of hair. Seriously, I do have a good impression of her, but she chose you. Moreover, it's just a good impression. I don't think too much about it. I'm just thinking about how to win the competition. After hearing what he said, he quickly broke up with the girl. No matter what she asked for, he basically satisfied the girl. He was indeed a scumbag. However, this kind of thing seemed to be consensual. The girl took a few bags from him and asked him to tell everyone that he was the one who had been dumped. It didn't matter who Yun-hoo dumped. In the end, he didn't expect to receive such benefits. It was a comfort from that person. Just like today, he had prepared wine and dishes. Patting him on the shoulder, he started drinking. There are plenty of women out there. She broke up with you because she didn't have the fortune. After saying these words, the man got drunk. Chapter 1533. It was also that kiss. It made Yun-hoo wonder if there was something wrong with him. If there wasn't something wrong with him, why would he have such thoughts towards a guy who was also a guy? For the entire night, his dreams were filled with his face. Yet, that guy knew nothing about all of this. The next day, he was still wondering if he had fallen down there. If not, why would his head hurt so much? Ever since then, it wasn't that he didn't want to distance himself from him. He just wanted to find the problem and solve it. But that guy thought he was in a bad mood after breaking up. To this person, he didn't seem to have a solution from the start. At first, he thought things would get better after they got together. But a certain someone didn't seem to be that aware. That was why there were so many opportunities for people to get close to him. Yun-hoo watched as the screen darkened and lit up again. He reached out and picked up his phone. He walked to the bathroom. Your phone keeps ringing. Lin Feng liked to wash his hands whenever he was nervous. He was turning on the water and thinking about how to put someone down when he heard Yunhu's voice. He used force and the water flow became much bigger. Phone. Help me answer it. MMH, Yunhu replied. That was what he said. Without hesitation, he brought the phone to his ear. Hello. The voice was low and he could hear the flipping of the contract. Are you free? Let's have dinner and talk about the project. Yunhu wasn't in a hurry. He waited for the other party to finish before speaking. Sorry, it's not him. He's in the bathroom now and it's not convenient for him to answer the phone. There was an obvious pause. Young Master Yun. It's me. Yun, who didn't mind revealing his identity in front of the other party, especially at such a time. The other party smiled and was very gentlemanly. Is he washing his hands in the bathroom at this hour? Yun, who narrowed his eyes. Because the other party had guessed correctly, the color in his eyes deepened. Just how heartless was that fellow? That was why he let an outsider know his habits. Yun, who glanced up, not surprised. No, he's showering. This time, there was a long pause on the other end of the phone. Then it really isn't convenient for him to answer my call. When he comes out, I'll have to trouble young Master Yun to ask him to return my call. All right. Yunhu's voice was still cold. In fact, he had the urge to smash his phone. He wanted to see how that guy was going to return the call if he smashed his phone. However, it was just a thought. Yunhu hung up. He wanted to return the phone to a certain someone. But when his gaze fell, he retracted his outstretched hand. How do you attack someone taller than you? The basic elements of being on the offensive. What are the specific steps of the attack? Let me share with you how I got my boyfriend. Yunhu scrolled down the list and finally landed on a point. Decide on the location, starting today. Yunhu's fingers paused, and the color of his eyes changed completely. Could that be the meaning behind what that guy posted on his moments? No wonder she always let him drink. She wanted him to get drunk and do something to him. Yunhu's hand was still there, but there was an obvious smile on his lips. On the other side, Lin Feng finally wiped the water off his body. The moment he came out, he saw Yunhu holding his phone, previewing a page. Wait. Page. Preview. Chapter 1534. Lin Feng didn't seem to have any hesitation. He snatched the phone from Yunhu's hand in an instant. The more he tried to cover it up, the more obvious it was. Yunhu lifted his eyelids, his deep eyes looking at the person standing opposite him. From the looks of it, it was true. This guy wanted to push him down. Lin Feng coughed softly under that gaze and began to forcefully explain, I'm just checking. After all, I already have a boyfriend. I have to know the process in advance, right? Not everyone has my spirit of learning without limits. Yunhu had every reason to believe that he had started to spout nonsense out of guilt since he could use endless learning in this situation. If you really want to know the process, I can teach you. Yunhu walked over. When he approached him, he could smell the faint scent of alcohol on his body. It mixed with his original scent, and for some reason, it smelled even better. But even so, Lin Feng still felt a sense of danger. I don't need you to teach me, I already know it. What a joke, did he still think he was a newbie who could be easily tricked? He had already communicated with others. Under normal circumstances, if someone offered to teach you the process, don't agree. There was a high possibility that you would end up being the one being suppressed while enjoying it. He still understood this point. Really? You know it? Yunhu moved closer. Do you want to try it on me? Of course. He came to him voluntarily. It had to be said that Yunhu was really self-aware. Lin Feng smiled, placing his hand on his shoulder like a good brother. You also think it's time for us to split up, right? Yunhu didn't feel anything wrong with their brotherly interaction. After all, he was a man, he shouldn't be shy. Yes, it's time to split up. Yunhu followed his words. When he glanced sideways, his gaze was a little deep. In the past, he had never thought that something would happen so soon. Because of Lin Feng's straightforwardness, he was afraid of messing things up. But now, it seemed like Lin Feng wasn't that resistant. If he couldn't even make use of this opportunity, what other opportunities would there be in the future? He had wanted to make him his for a long time. With that in mind, Yunhu's gaze deepened and he shifted. But I need to go down to buy something. At this moment, Lin Feng felt that he had great foresight. No need, I've already bought them. Are you done? Yunhu arched a brow. Lin Feng felt that it wasn't a bad thing for the other party to know his thoughts. This was how a man should be. There was nothing shameful about deciding his position. He really had too many concerns in the past. Now that he had thought it through, he placed the bag in front of Yunhu. It's all here, it's complete. Yunhu glanced at the bag. He basically recognized everything inside. After all, he had searched through all the things that Lin Feng had searched through when he was still in school. Ever since he had fallen in love with someone, some thoughts had never stopped. She really didn't expect him to post these things on his WeChat moments. And she said that she was just searching for him in advance, and that she didn't have any thoughts about him. Chapter 1535. Not bad. Yunhu flipped through the bag casually, many thoughts running through his mind. When Lin Feng heard that he was praised, he was smug. He basically said everything that needed to be said. Of course, this was recommended by the boss. I, a popular professional sports player, went to buy this thing. I didn't even take off my mask the entire time. That was why he was dressed like this. Yunhu could roughly guess the reason. I didn't know you had such thoughts about me. When Lin Feng heard this, he coughed softly. The problem of the position has to be resolved sooner or later. It's better to resolve it later than later. Yunhu was reminded of the message Spade had sent him. Based on his understanding of a certain someone, he wouldn't have thought of this if he hadn't been provoked. It seemed like he really had to treat Spade to a meal after today. Lin Feng couldn't read Yunhu's thoughts. Everything was ready except for the east wind. Following the procedure, he asked, "Shall we shower separately?" "Sure." Yunhu broke into a smile. There was no reason for him to reject someone who had sent himself to his doorstep. Since he agreed so readily, Lin Feng found a set of pajamas and tossed it to Yunhu before heading to the other bathroom. He went through the tutorial again. When he was almost done, Lin Feng said to the mirror, "With such a handsome attack, Yunhu won't be able to handle it." If Bo Jiu had heard his words, she would have scoffed at him. Unfortunately, it was indeed handsome. But an attack? Sorry, not at all. Lin Feng walked out with absolute confidence. He was determined to take down Yunhu. Hence, his gait was more imposing than usual. But for some reason, the moment his aura reached Yunhu, it was like a punctured balloon. At this moment, Yunhu walked out. He was wearing his pajamas, which was a little small. Hence, the top two buttons weren't buttoned. Instead, they were half open, revealing his enviable curves. Lin Feng was a little jealous. What exactly did this guy do to the gym? Shouldn't a professional gamer be abnormally pale and powerless? With a face like this, did he even have any professionalism? What happened to the fat homebody that only knew how to play games? Lin Feng had forgotten about a certain someone's background and the time in the dormitory. Every morning, he would wake him up for a run. He didn't know what to say. Let me sleep a little longer. That was basically it. Getting up early didn't seem like something pro players would do. Look at the captain. It was a typical personality that was grumpy the moment he woke up. Whoever dared to wake him up in the morning would be punished with an extra hour of training. However, Lin Feng finally understood. Once it was time to see the results on the bed. Running in the morning was really useful. Since he had just showered, Yunhu's black hair was still wet. Droplets of water landed on his face and flowed down his neck. Under such circumstances, his eyes seemed even deeper. For some reason, Lin Feng felt that his heart was beating faster. He clearly didn't feel anything just now. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.